screen, share the live gift. I need to pay for a $600 hot water heater I just bought. So this is my Cash App and Venmo. If you would like to support me, please do. It is much appreciated. I really was going to take the day off, but then I was just going through, oh my God. And I just saw another article. I just was going through the news while I was waiting for the hot water heater to be installed and stuff. And I was like, I have too many thoughts. Way too many thoughts to not say anything today about what is going on in this country. Okay. We are live on Twitch. Give me 1 second to finish off getting us live on YouTube. If anyone wants to watch from there or from both, you are more than welcome. Just getting the super chat goal on YouTube set up, and then we will get going. I would have it installed for free if I was out there. Oh no. Yeah, no, it's actually, that is the good news. My dad could build a house from nothing. It actually is I don't want to tell you guys what my dad does for a living because you're going to be sickened by it. I mean, but yeah, my dad's a contractor, could build a house, pretty much wire it for electricity, everything. Let's just say my dad runs the facilities of a mega church. And actually the person that's installing the hot water heater is someone that works with him. So it's not I didn't have to technically pay for the install. Yeah. So that part is good. That's the good part of knowing someone who's, knows so many people that work in and around the construction / handyman business. Okay, wait. Hopefully, I've just taken my ADHD, so hopefully I'll be more focused in 5 minutes. Let me just finish the super chat goal on YouTube, and then we'll get started. I try not to always take my ADHD medication if I'm not working and I don't see you guys that way, because otherwise it affects my sleep. So this is the first time in 4 days I've actually taken it. Okay. God, there's so many gross things going on. It's hard to decide where to start. What's been on my mind a lot is, I'm sure on everyone's mind. I know you might have seen or might have not. On Friday, the Trump's big, beautiful bill couldn't get out of committee. And then last night, suspiciously, after this weird meeting where undoubtedly those 4 or 5 Republicans were promised, don't worry, we'll kick more people off Medicaid. Something that made them just agree not to vote so it could get out of committee. So the reconciliation bill, it might be by end of day today, the Senate's going to vote on it, which is going to be an absolute nightmare. But ever since last Wednesday, Pickles and I were debating together for a while, and Tic Tac came up, and he was talking about that the no tax on tips was at that point they hadn't voted on it, but it was tentatively in the reconciliation bill, some form of it. And then as well, no tax on overtime and other things like that. And we were kind of discussing, how do you speak to that, or what does that all look like? So it's been on my mind a lot. And ironically, the best article I found on this stuff is in USA Today, but I want to go over some of that. And, all this stuff kind of ties in, but I want to clarify what I found on that stuff first. Okay. Wait, where is let me just find the chat on Twitch. Here we go. Hello, Twitch. Okay. Do you like my hat? It's a really smart owl, and it says, wise ass. Funny, right? I know. And the best thing is when you haven't slept or you don't feel great, hats just make you look so much better, even when you don't feel like you look good. Okay. Do I want to go right into I think this is what I'm going to do. Chris Murphy was on Meet the Press yesterday talking about a wide variety of stuff. And I think I want to show those clips first, or the clips I have of that. And then we'll kind of use that as a jumping off point to talk about many things like Trump's corruption, the reconciliation bill. That's all one and the same, but you get my point. And I didn't screen record things, so I'm going to pull them up, just from my links in the outline. So just bear with me on that, because usually I can zoom in and make them, the clips a little bit fit to screen, but I didn't have time to screen record everything. I'm taking care of a sick little kitten who's not doing so well. He's a trooper though. Oh, and by the way, I found a great service. It's called, again, I'm probably going to find out they don't treat their vets well. And like, I'm going to find out horror stories, because I know these online services, there's always like some catches, but it's called Dutch, like regular spelling, DUTCH.com. And it's like, you pay like, I think I paid like maybe $87 for an entire year. And you get like, I got to see a veterinarian like on it. They send you a Zoom link. I got to see a vet with Mr. Mittens, my cat, within an hour. Like, literally, I think like 35 minutes. Had an appointment with a vet, and then they do prescriptions directly, like write it up, send you an email, and then you pay for it individually, and then they like ship it, so. Yeah, I know, Steph. And it depends on the state you're in, because Arizona has some stringent laws around online veterinarian services. So, and she was kind of explaining that to me. She's like, some states are more lax, but in Arizona, she's like, if your cat isn't better, and she's like, and this is the rule of thumb, she's just like, within 30 days, you need to make sure you take him to a vet. And I guess that's the law in Arizona. Like if you do an online vet service once and the issue isn't resolved within 30 days, then legally, you have to take them into a vet. They cannot be seen again online. But for me, like, I don't know how it is. I think it's different with dogs. My cat is so traumatized. I have a 20-year-old cat who I'm scared if I take him to the vet might have a heart attack. Like, that's my issue now. Like, he is so traumatized and so anxious about vet visits that I'm just trying to like get him the medicine he needs and not put him in like the most horrifying experience. So that's why I chose to do it this way. I'll report back if I find out what's wrong. I'm sure there's something wrong with this service, but at least it was okay. So if you claim 20K, someone just at Dark Andia. So if you claim 20K in tips, you will be taxed. Why would anyone with an option turn it in? No, that's not. I'll go over that in a second. I'm going to go over the no tax on tip stuff. Because it's not even that good. No, it's not even that simple. Like, it's not a good deal when you really look into it. It's it's another bait and switch where they're like, see, look what we did, something for like poor people. And then when you have like an actual think tank break it down for you, it's like, oh, this isn't really good for anyone. I will say this though, because if you were last Wednesday when Pickles and I were debating, and Tic Tac came up and was talking about this debate he and Tommy had about the no tax on tips and how it was in the bill. My accountant Sue was watching, and one of the things that I never answered on the live that she texted me about after, we were saying like, okay, well, tips, like, does that count if you're an online creator, like, and you get gifts or whatever on TikTok? Are those tips? Well, they basically have, I think it's like some certain amount of days after, once the reconciliation bill passes, I want to say it's like, let's say 90 days or something, to file a list of occupations that will be covered in the no tax on tips. So actually at this time, no one is sure specifically which occupations. And since I was reading all this information that I'll show you in a couple of minutes from think tanks, I'm starting to think maybe not. Like, it's sounding like really typical service type job. Yeah, it kind of made me lose hope. But again, according to my accountant, we have 90 days, so we don't know yet. And if I hear anything or figure anything out or see a list of occupations that will be included, I'll let you guys know as soon as possible, because that's what I'm interested in. That's what I desperately want to know, because it's like, if there is, and it's even worse than, well, we'll get into it a little bit, but again, it's not payroll tax, right? This is income tax. So if you make so little that you're not even paying income, like federal income tax, it won't apply to you anyways. It's actually like sad the amount of service workers this is not going to apply to when you really break it down. I was kind of shocked. Here, I'm pulling up these Chris Murphy clips. Again, this is yesterday. Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut was on Meet the Press. He only posted like a couple minutes of it. He did a great interview, and it's even longer than this, but Aaron Rupar posted like 4 clips. So I'm going to work off these. But again, if you want to find the whole interview and listen to Chris Murphy, because he covered a wide range of topics and did an amazing job. Again, this is Meet the Press yesterday morning with gross Kristen Welker, who lets me down more every single day that goes by.
This tax bill, Secretary Bessent argues it will create hundreds of billions of dollars in economic growth. You obviously are one of the Democrats who opposes this bill. Are Democrats standing in the way of the economic growth that Secretary Bessent was just arguing?
Well, what we're standing in the way of is the most massive transfer of wealth from the poor and the middle class to the rich in the history of the country. This budget bill is an absolute disaster. It is going to kick over 10 million people off of their health care. Medicaid covers about a quarter of all Americans in order to pass along a new $1 trillion tax cut for the richest 1%. Nobody in this country is asking for that. And in addition, it's going to dramatically drive up the deficit. Now, I heard the Treasury Secretary say that who cares about the downgrading of our credit rating from Moody's? That is a big deal. That means that we are likely headed for a recession. That probably means higher interest rates for anybody out there who is trying to start a business or to buy a home. These guys are running the economy recklessly because all they care about is the health of the Mar-a-Lago billionaire class. They only care about their corporate friends. They are going to destroy this economy. They are going to throw millions of people off of health care just so that they can pass along a benefit to a small handful of very rich Americans. That is deeply unpopular, and my hope is that it won't pass, that enough Republicans see that nobody is asking for that massive investment in only a small handful of Americans, that they'll vote against it.
Let me ask.
And I have Scott Bessent actually went right before Chris Murphy, and the lies coming out of Scott Bessent's mouth as an economist, he will never be accepted by the economics community ever again. He's literally just a puppet lying for, then again, I was about to say lying for billionaires, but he might not be a billionaire, but he does have like 500 million. So it's not like he's some poor guy. Like, he also is lying for his own benefit. But when you hear like, oh, all this economic growth, what are we talking about here? Yes, I agree that, 1% or 0.01% of this country is really going to benefit from this bill, right? It's just not going to be all of us. We are literally robbing and when I say the poor, I just want to be clear. There's no middle class in America. There is the 1%, and more specifically, like the 0.01%, and then there's the rest of us. That is the reality we are in. And when I talk about like, hey, unless you make $360,000 a year, because our conversation last Wednesday with Tic Tac, when Pickles and I were talking, the three of us were talking, it made me realize we do need to specify. When I say I've shown a ton of charts from different think tanks. Like, if you don't make over $360,000 a year, you're not getting a tax cut, right? And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about a comprehensive look, right? And I'll show you an article on this in a bit when we talk about the no tax on tips and the reconciliation bill in general. But that's essentially what we're talking about. You have to factor in tariffs, right? Even if you think, hey, I've seen, if you live in a swing state, I'm sure you've seen these ridiculous commercials being run by like Trump super PACs that are like hands off, like our TCJA tax cuts, like acting like Democrats are trying to take money from the average American. It's idiocy. Even if, let's say, you are getting a small tax break or the continued TCJA tax break, you're still going to be paying more because of tariffs. You are now paying every time you buy something, so rich people don't have to pay taxes. Like, you sound absurd. Okay, I didn't previously screen record these, so I just need to pull them up one by one, so that's why I can't just swipe like I usually do. It'll take a couple extra seconds. Let's get everyone tap the screen. Also, also, could everyone share the live? I know I'm late. I've had so much going on and people probably didn't expect me to be live. If you could share the live with 10 people, again, just, oh, thank you for the gift. I've never seen that. I love watermelon too. Don't get me started on watermelon. Fax, it was you. I didn't even see that. Miss you. I made it live. I know. Fax is probably like concerned about my mental health. I had a tough day yesterday. Just when I have a bad day, I just text Fax. I'm like, my life's falling apart. I'm okay. It's okay. Everything's fine. There's hot water in my house. If you missed it, my hot water heater completely went out yesterday. Let's keep tapping the screen. Let's get to 50K as fast as possible. If you don't have anyone to share the live with, just push the arrow in the bottom right corner and there's a copy link button. Oh, I need to update the gift goal. And that counts as sharing the live as well. And it helps us get found more in the algorithm or more quickly. Thank you guys for tapping the screen. I appreciate it. We need about 75 oh my God, I can't. That's so embarrassing. 84? I can do math, I swear. 84. 75, whatever. That's still better than Trump. Subscriptions get back to 500. Oh, that was embarrassing. If you would like to help me or buy monthly subscriptions for someone else, the arrow in the right-hand corner is how you share the live. The yellow star on the bottom left is how you, oh, that's not the gift code to update, is how you subscribe. That's what that yellow star is. Okay. I'm updating the gift goal now, and I'll try to stay on that. It's just my brain hasn't been working this much in a while. Okay, we're on the second clip. Okay, I just realized I closed it. Oh no, I might have to update my... Uh-oh, I think I have to change... Hold on one second. I think I have to change my keyboard batteries, but I can just... Actually, I can turn this on and then do it. Sorry.
In a way that reduced the deficit. In fact, the inflation...
Here we go.
Downgrading the nation's credit rating. And of course, they do cite the debt that the nation has accrued, of course, over decades in Democratic and Republican administrations. Why didn't Democrats do more to address the debt when you all were in power?
Well, I think it's important to remember that some of the most important legislative achievements during Joe Biden's presidency were done in a way that reduced the deficit. In fact, the Inflation Reduction Act, which made massive investments in renewable energy, reduced prescription drug costs, was done in a way that drove down the deficit, not driving the deficit up. Most of the deficit was added under Joe Biden's presidency was in those early days when we were still recovering from the pandemic. But there's just no doubt that it was Donald Trump who added more to the deficit than any president in the history of the country, and he is on pace to do it for a second time. It's going to crater the economy. And listen, it won't have an impact on his billionaire friends. His Mar-a-Lago crowd will come out all right, but it will impact the regular people I represent in New Britain, Bristol, and Bridgeport.
If you really look.
Oh, did we all catch all of that? I mean, did we? Because I'll show this clip, but I'm very annoyed this morning because, again, in the Monday version of Trump's daily reality show, or S show, whatever you want to call it, he's putting on in Washington, D.C. every day. You know, it starts with Caroline Leavitt doing a press conference where this morning, one of the more absurd lies she told with a straight face, thank you so much for the gift, was literally having the nerve to say that Trump's big, beautiful bill does not raise the deficit. I ask you, MAGA, are you guys as DUMB as you seem? I mean, truly, that's a genuine question. Or are you pathologically lying for Trump? Which one is it? You can't be that ridiculous. Trump raised the deficit in his first term, the third most in modern history. Biden lowered the deficit during COVID, right? You could say, well, that was the start of COVID. Say whatever you want. Biden still lowered the deficit. Do you understand what the deficit is, right? The deficit is, hey, we need to bring in revenue. That's through taxes and things of that nature, versus what we spend. It's the difference between the two is the deficit. And for some reason, you guys demand tax cuts. Well, as long as I get my temporary tax cuts that aren't in perpetuity, rich people get tax cuts in perpetuity. But for some reason, as long as MAGA is tricked into thinking they're getting tax cuts, even though you're not, with tariffs. For the first time in history, you're being taxed without representation, and you're actually correct in complaining and crying about it. And for some reason, why is my mouse not working? And for some reason, this is the time that none of you will talk about it. You are not saving any money whatsoever. Trump is not lowering the deficit. Why are we raising the debt ceiling $5 trillion if Trump is lowering the deficit? What is happening? I might have to just use this mouse. I don't know. Give me 1 second to pull up the third Chris Murphy clip because they're so good. So proud of him yesterday. Oh, there is a battery in here. Oh, that explains. I thought, never mind. That explains so much. Okay. I need to get a different battery.
That by 2024, the American public had made up their mind, right? That they wanted the Democratic Party to nominate somebody new. And it was absolutely a mistake for the party to not listen to those voters.
Just to be very clear, do you bear some responsibility as well?
Oh, I think we all bear responsibility. Listen, and I think, we maybe didn't listen as early as we should have, in part because we have immense loyalty to this man who had led this country out of a pandemic, who had been maybe the most prodigious legislator as a president, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure Act, the bipartisan gun bill in a generation. But ultimately, in retrospect, you can't defend what the Democratic Party did because we are stuck with a madman, with a corrupt president in the Oval Office, and we should have given ourselves a better chance to.
I don't know how I feel about this. I wanted to play this clip. Like, he's talking about Biden, and this is, like, I've thought about this. I've had days to think about this, especially since, recently what's been going on with Biden's cancer diagnosis, which I want to talk about.
Paper is more sophisticated.
If you don't know Jake Tapper, who I honestly, I was on the fence about Jake Tapper for a while. He's completely out of his mind now. I can't do Jake Tapper anymore. He's has a book out with, I can't remember the other woman's name, but he's basically about to go on a book tour. And the book is essentially about, again, rehashing whether or not, like, Biden is or was senile, right? Which is a distraction. It's almost a paid distraction at this point, in my opinion, for Donald Trump. We are talking about, right? We are talking about, for the first time ever, our credit rating has been lowered. We are now bums who can't pay our bills. America, because of Donald Trump. And you know what they cited when they lowered our credit rating? They didn't cite, you had a president who was too old or seen. They weren't talking about Joe Biden when they lowered the credit rating. They were directly talking about Trump's big, beautiful bill. When our credit rating was lowered, when the faith in the U.S. economy has been lost and our ability to pay our debts, what was being cited had nothing to do with Joe Biden. It had to do with Donald Trump. Uh-oh. Why can't I? Sorry, for a second, my screen went off. Sorry, I'm just putting in a mouse that doesn't require a battery really quick. I couldn't see you guys for a second. But again, this has nothing to do with Joe Biden. So and I don't blame Chris Murphy for just answering a question he was asked. I just get annoyed by the question. I just want to clarify, this has been going on, and I've noticed this, and I don't think I'm the only one that noticed this. I can't remember. I saw someone tweeting about this, and I was like, what a great, notice. Anyone that goes on NBC or CNN for the last couple weeks is for some reason suspiciously asked about Biden, about him being senile or not. And particularly they're asking people who might be presidential candidates in 2028. I've noticed Jake Tapper, Austin Welker doing this. And this is all while Donald Trump is crashing our economy, grifting, journeying around, in my opinion, in the Middle East, accepting bribes. Billions in bribes, going on a bribe tour of the Middle East. And we're talking about Joe Biden. Hypothetically, let's say Joe Biden was senile during his presidency, or whatever we're saying. Now, this morning it's changed to, he had cancer and was hiding it. I don't know. Whatever delusional thing you want to go with, he still recovered the best in the G7 from the pandemic. Period. He still lowered the deficit. He still increased manufacturing jobs in the United States. I could still make a mathematical argument of how Joe Biden and what he did was mathematically good for the U.S. economy. Period. That's the truth. You could say anything you want to say. You could say he was secretly, 6 koalas in a trench coat. I don't care what you say about Joe Biden. He still did a better job than Donald Trump. Period. Like, that's the sad part. You're trying to say what? That he's senile? Well, what does that make Donald Trump? That he was too old? That they were hiding it? That he had cancer? Whatever it is, whoever Joe Biden was during those 4 years, he put on a clinic. So what's the point? But I'll tell you what the point is. This whole Comey is a teist who took a picture of shells and now needs to go to jail. I don't know if you've seen, they're now rehashing the Clintons are unalivers conspiracy theories. Sorry, I can't. I just find it's really funny. They're still they started rehashing that. Now we're doing the Biden was senile, and they're saying they're going to release. If you don't know who Robert Hur is, that's the guy that interviewed Biden and kind of implied that he was, they couldn't convict him because he was, too old or whatever. The Republican guy that then resigned. And Trump saying they're going to release some of those tapes. Now, why would they be doing that? Oh, yes, because these fools were refusing to release the Epstein tapes. Trump actually had the U.S. credit rating lowered. And we have MAGA, again, lost in their paper bags, like, hey, let's bring up Clinton conspiracies. Let's talk about Hunter Biden's laptop while we're all being robbed. MAGA, this is a sign that your brains don't work. Like, I don't know how else to tell you. If you're still focused on the past while someone is actively robbing you every day that goes by, it is a sign that your brain doesn't work. No, Eric, I don't want to talk to you right now, but it's nice to see you. Thank you for requesting. This is not have asinine conversations about the Clintons. I know you. This is your. I know, Eric. They're bringing the Clintons back up, and you have all your clips ready and to talk about your Clinton conspiracy theories. But just this is the wrong show. But I hope you're well, and tell your grandmother I said hi. Sorry, you guys may know who Eric is. He's obsessed with the Clintons. He always used to try to force me to watch these YouTube conspiracy documentaries. I do miss you, Eric, but not now. I've got important things to talk about. Okay, let me get through the third Chris Murphy. Now I have a working mouse. It'll be much easier to open up these clips. Okay.
In which I asked him about that $400 million in which I asked him about that $400 million jet that Qatar is offering to the president, to the United States. President Trump said it would be, quote, stupid not to take it. What is your response to that argument that the U.S. deserves the biggest plane, and President Trump says it's actually going to ultimately save the U.S. money?
So why did he choose these 3 countries to go to for his first major foreign trip? It's not because these are our most important allies or the most important countries in the world. It's because these are the 3 countries willing to pay him off. Every single one of these countries is giving Trump money. The plane from Qatar, an investment in his cryptocurrency scam from the UAE, and they are asking for national security concessions in return. This is the definition of corruption. Foreign governments putting money in the president's pocket, and in the United States giving them national security concessions that hurt our own security. By the way, the plane is not a gift to the American people, as the secretary said. It is going directly to Donald Trump. That library will take a decade to build, and so once he leaves the White House, until the library is built, he gets to use that plane to fly around all of his billionaire friends while his policies result in millions of Americans losing their health care and having to pay higher costs. That is the definition of corruption.
All right, well, we'll watch.
This is a completely
so weird. My gift goal just automatically updated. Sorry, I'm fascinated by what's going on. Okay. I must have my gift goals somehow automatically updating. I need to make it a little bigger though, so I don't have to do it every 5 seconds. Yeah, I could not agree more. I mean, this is absolutely absurd. But let's all hypothetically talk about whether or not. Wait, what keeps? Oh, there, my screens are back. Wait, can you guys see me? What just happened? Can you guys? It's just okay. Never mind. For some reason, I don't know what. I'm sorry. Something really weird just happened with TikTok Studio. I hope I don't have to restart. You guys can see me like normal, right? Okay, now it's back. Never mind. TikTok Studio just shifted completely and I couldn't see myself, and then it's already back. Problem solved. I have no idea what that was. We'll figure it out one of these days. Okay, I got the gift goal updated. Perfect. Okay. Oh, the alerts aren't on either. What has happened, TikTok? Where are my alerts? Like new followers and stuff. I'm noticing those aren't there. I'll figure all this out. Oh, here they are. Yeah, they're here. Hopefully they keep popping up. You guys can see me like normal. It just, everything shifted slightly. That is so weird. I'm gonna just move. It's like things. Okay. I'm just trying to make sure everyone can see me normally. There we go. Better. And now I'll just lock it. I think that's better. It's good enough. You guys. Sorry, let me lock the camera so it won't move again. Okay. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yes, the bribe. So let me skip back because now I want to I want to just switch really quick and talk about I'm just going to use this as a basis for the conversation. I know
that paper is more sophisticated now than computers.
Thank you so much. Oh, and I just remembered, I think I forgot someone buying a subscription for someone else. Yes. Thank you, PTCHT. Patchett sent one giveaway sub, and I think Ray of Hope got it. Thank you so much. And I saw that, but I had so much going on in my head, I forgot to say it. So I just want to make sure I recognize you. I want to talk about, let me find the part where I get to the bribes. I'm going to just use, Ron Filipkowski wrote a lot about the bribes, so I'm going to use his work to talk about the, yeah, here it is. Here we go. Okay, I'll come back to the bill.
You know that paper is more sophisticated now than
Thank
computers.
you so much. Please do follow me. I think I need like 300 or 400 followers to get to 200,000. So if you're not following me, please do. I would appreciate it. I feel like I don't know what just happened with the camera, but it definitely moved. Okay. So New York Times reported that Jared Kushner's firm, which is seeking to develop a $500 million Trump International Hotel in Belgrade, Serbia, is on hold after a government official confessed to forging a document that allowed a historic building to be demolished on the site so the hotel could be built. Office of the Prosecutor for Organized Crime, right? This is in Serbia. Vasic forged, this is a quote, Vasic forged a proposal for a decision to revoke the status of a cultural property. I'm just giving some examples of what we now know about Trump's bribes and corruption. The Free Press published, quote, How Qatar Bought America, showing the ties between senior Trump officials, and this is super disturbing, showing the ties between senior Trump officials and Qatar, which indicated that Trump's moves to have the U.S. go all in on aren't being done solely for the benefit of the country. Oh, did you think they were? So the airplane deal, right? Trump's airplane deal, and exactly what Chris Murphy was saying. He's saying, oh, I'll give it to my presidential library, but he gets to fly it around even after he's not president anymore until that is built. Like, it's BS. The airplane deal was signed off on by who? Attorney General Pam Bondi, and I talked about this. One of the reasons when people are like, why is Pam Bondi going to be AG? Besides the pieces I did about her corruption, her weird J6 involvement, all of that stuff, I talked about how this woman has been a lawyer working for lobbyists. She has had to register as a foreign agent on U.S. soil. She is a lobbyist lawyer. This is what she does. She used to work at a lobbying firm that received $115,000 a month from Qatar. from Qatar. Trump's chief of staff, the ice maiden, Susie Wiles, led a lobbying firm when it represented Qatar's embassy in Washington. Is anyone surprised by this? FBI Director Kash Patel worked as a consultant for Qatar, although he didn't bother to even register as a foreign agent, which used to be a crime. In 2023, Qatar's sovereign wealth fund bought out special envoy Steve Witkoff's investment in struggling Park Lane. Oh my, what is that? Sorry, something keeps happening with TikTok Studio and the size changes, but it's not changing for you guys. So I'm just going to assume it's fine. Something happens. Okay. In 2023, Qatar's sovereign wealth fund bought out special envoy Steve Witkoff's investment in the struggling Park Lane Hotel in New York for $623 million. Very interesting. These are the ties between Trump and Qatar, or Trump's staff even. Trump Org is building a new luxury golf course resort near Qatar's capital, Doha, in partnership with a Qatari company. Donald Trump Jr. will speak next week, which is this week, at the invitation-only Qatar Economic Forum in a session entitled Investing in America. Corruption at its finest. Like, you can't even write this stuff if you wanted to. It's absurd. How did this just suddenly get bigger? Okay. Thank you so much for the gifts. Appreciate it so much. I'm just trying to figure out what's happening. Keep worried. If TikTok Studio shuts down, then I think it won't shut the live off. I just might need to restart. So don't leave if anything happens, but it's sputtering a little. IDF spokesman, thank you for subscribing. Roman Catholic. I love that name. Do you get it? Like Roman Catholic, but it was Catholic. That is an awesome screen name. Thanks for following, Roman. I love that name. IDF spokesman. So, Israeli Defense Fund spokesman Doron Spielman to CNN, quote, Qatar is a terror sponsoring country. And this is what I love. Like, this is when Israel finds out, oh, Trump does not care about you. Trump is not Marco Rubio or another evangelical who believes we need to defend Israel at all costs. Trump is a transactional malignant narcissist available to the highest bidder. And he's very clearly fascinated by the opulent wealth of Arab countries. And he's soon forgetting who Israel is. Think about it. What's the difference? We have to give Israel money all the time, and then Arab countries are handing Trump planes and giving him $2 billion in his rug pulling meme coin fund all the time. Oh, someone else. Thank you for telling me that. Someone in the comments said it's not me and TikTok Studio is being weird. It's literally just resizing itself. I definitely it might just close. I have no idea. Thank you, Andy, for subscribing and getting an extension. And Tammy Signs received a supporter subscription. Andy, was that you? Thank you so much. Oh, yeah. And sent a giveaway sub. Thank you, Andy. You're the best. Love you for that. Hopefully we make it through and TikTok Studio straightens out, but it's getting weirder. Things are disappearing from the screen. I'm getting this out one way or another. Okay. So this is again from the IDF spokesman. They're a terror sponsoring country. They've been playing both sides of the field for many, many years. The largest funder of H group and other H group from Lebanon and the Taliban. They also house the H group leadership. I'm not so sure it's in the U.S.'s interest to be putting so many eggs in the basket of Qatar. Israel obviously relies on the U.S. I think that Americans need to be very concerned. Yeah, you better save up all your money to bribe Trump, Israel. Did you guys think he was religious and cared about you all and believed in that evangelical stuff that a lot of conservatives do? Oh no, he's not one of those people. So better save up your money to get him a better plane or you might be in trouble. Sorry, we're just going over the Trump's ridiculous tour of the Middle East to accept bribes, in my opinion. Trump gave a speech to American troops in Qatar. Quote, this is a quote from the speech. We love France, right? but I think we did a little more to win the war than France did. Do we agree? I don't want to be a wise guy, but when Mustache Man made his speech at the Eiffel Tower, I would say that wasn't exactly ideal. I can't even read this. Mustache Man never gave a speech at the Eiffel Tower, by the way. In case anyone's like, that's weird. I don't remember that time that Mustache Man gave a speech at the Eiffel Tower. That would be because it has never occurred and no one knows what Trump is talking about. Nor France was literally occupied by the Germans during World War II. So I'm very confused. Like, what are you talking about? I mean, if there's listen, America absolutely did not win World War II. The Eastern Front is where most of the battles happen. Like I have a degree in history. When you talk about World War II, America we were never going to be in World War II. If it wasn't even for the Japanese, we'd probably never have been there. Our goal is to stay completely out of it. Like, it's hilarious watching Trump try to claim success for World War II. We just showed up at the end and again, not to discredit our military troops who were incredibly brave, and we lost so many people, and but to sit there and say that it was us, we won, you need to look at the contribution of the Eastern Front to taking control of Mustache Man. I mean, that's the real story there. This is another quote from Trump while in Qatar. Quote, I have concepts. What? Why would he say, I have concepts for Gaza? I'd be proud to have the United States take it and make it a freedom zone. Remember, whenever Trump starts saying things like freedom zone, do you guys remember in the Agenda 47 videos when he started talking about freedom cities? And he was going to annex federal lands, and there were going to be freedom cities, which really just sounded like some sort of grift, so he could develop cities essentially, but there were going to be no regulations. So he was going to make buildings that had no regulations. They would probably just tip over on the people who were inside them. Oh, if you've never seen, you could probably look up just Trump Freedom Cities Agenda 47 and find the video, because let us never forget Trump's plan for freedom cities. What happened to the freedom cities? But now I guess Gaza, where nobody is free, will be a freedoms. Okay, cool. What could go wrong there? The Qatari Prime Minister was asked about Trump's palace in the sky jet. Quote, unfortunately, I see this story is taking a different direction and it's being politicized while it's a normal government to government deal. No, it's not. Can anybody who's not intellectually dishonest admit that if Biden accepted a $400 million jet from the Middle East or from Africa or from anywhere, no one would have ever shut up about it? Is this real life? This is normal government to government activity. Okay. It's basically part of a cooperation that we have been doing together between Qatar and the US. Listen, I do believe there's a cooperation happening between very rich government officials in Qatar and the Trump family. I believe that you are bribing the Trump family. I mean, if that's what you're talking about. And I actually think that is what they're talking about. Because in authoritarian governments, like in the Middle East, there are rich people who matter, right? And then there's everyone else who doesn't. So I do think what they're saying is, hey, a bunch of rich people are making deals. Yeah, that doesn't benefit any of you whatsoever, but this is how we do things in authoritarian countries. What's the problem? It just won't benefit us in any way, and we're all being robbed by the rich in real time. Why should it bother any of us? Well, it bothers me very much, just for the record. CNN noted that the gift from Qatar to Trump isn't exactly free. This is where it gets real gross. Trump just wants a palace in the sky and doesn't want to wait for the new Air Force One, right? Because that's his real complaint. He said the plane is too old. What if Biden said Air Force One was too old and he didn't want to ride around on it anymore? That's essentially what is going on. He's just like, this plane's too old and it's icky. Sorry, I'm just opening one of my computers again. Okay. Quote, making necessary security changes to this plane is estimated to cost, and this is on top of the gift. So this is what it will cost us, the taxpayers. I just want to be, if you're under the impression that we are not paying, nope. Again, for waste, I guess we're rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, just not this waste, fraud, and abuse. The plane is estimated to cost 3 times the value of the plane. Are you hearing me? 3 times the value of the gifted plane. In other words, for this free plane, American taxpayers may pay an additional $800 million. Great job, MAGA. I know that you can't do math, so none of this could, but you do understand we can't just accept a plane from another country when it's all the upgrades, the Pentagon has to outfit it, do all these things. We will be paying 3 times as much as the actual gifted plane cost. Great. You guys are great with math. Keep up the great work saving us money. You guys are cutting waste, fraud, and abuse left and right. Trump then went to the UAE. I always say I used to be in Model Arab League, which is like the United Nations for the Arab world, and I was the UAE. So we went on to the United Arab Emirates to give a speech and said this, quote, my first week, eggs were up 200%. Now they are down 97, 98 from where they were. No, they are not. But what? Truth be damned, whatever. Let's just make up weird stories. Trump to the United Arab Emirates president, quote, we have a term groceries. Remember this, people? Trump thinks the term groceries is like newly invented because Trump has never been to a grocery store. Remember when he's like, and a lady looked with tears in her eyes and said, I guess I have to take 1 apple back to the apple refrigerator. Remember when we realized Trump had never been to a grocery store and thinks that apples are kept in refrigerators? Does anyone remember? Trump has no idea that the word groceries exists because he has never gone shopping for groceries in his life. So he has no idea. We have a term groceries. It's an old term, but it means basically what you're buying, food. It's a pretty accurate term, but it's an old-fashioned sound, but groceries are down. Who's going to tell Trump that groceries are not down? This is what he has been talking about in the Middle East, making us proud. Just you and I have to hear that Biden is senile. Meanwhile, this guy is making speeches in the Middle East. The term gross, it's basically what you're buying, food. That's the only new piece of information I could confirm that Trump has learned in the last 6 months. Someone had to explain to him what groceries were. But I have to hear Biden's mental acuity debate it. Cool. Makes perfect sense. Oh, and I know you guys might have heard about this, but Kristi Noem, who has, if you don't know, I mean, I played this clip of Chris Murphy like running her over when she was under oath in the Senate like 2 weeks ago, and him basically being like, you're spending money like it's water. Like you're on pace to run out of money again after we replenished your budget. She's just doing weird photo ops and flying around in her private jet, but she wants a new plane. Kristi Noem wants a new jet. Representative Lauren Underwood, who I love, my committee just received a last-minute addition to the Coast Guard spend plan. $50 million for a new Gulfstream 5 jet for Department of Homeland Security Noem's personal use. She already has a Gulfstream 5, by the way, but she wants a new one paid for by your tax dollars. We should be investing in our national security and improving the lives of our coasties, not wasting taxpayer dollars on luxury travel and political stunts. Yes, someone said the immigrant reality show. Exactly. Kristi Noem is doing nothing. She's like playing Halloween every day. She's like in a fireman's costume. Then she's in like waving around like an AR, holding it incorrectly. Like, I mean, this woman is literally going around every day as Halloween. And now she needs a new Gulfstream 5 from our tax dollars. These are the, don't worry, we're rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse crowd. You guys are a joke. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to say it. You guys are a joke. You've done nothing. Yeah. Oh, this is the quote. I love this. This is from Chris Murphy. Just got word that Kristi Noem is asking for an addition to her new budget, a new private Gulfstream 5 jet for her personal national photo op tour. She's already got a private plane, but wants a tricked out. I love that Chris Murphy said tricked out. That's funny. Are we still saying that? I don't think we're saying that. Tricked out new one. All while she supports kicking 13 million people off Medicaid. And RFK Jr. is the arbiter of who needs to be on Medicaid. So don't worry, guys. I'm sure it will be fine. What could go wrong here? Keep tapping the screen. Oh, we're not even to 100K. Can we all get to tapping? Tapping is clapping. Tap that screen. Let's get to 100K as fast as possible. I appreciate it. I'm sure I need to update a bunch of goals. We're at 420. It's 420. We have 420 subs. Just want to make that random announcement. Let me do with it what you will. The goal is 500. If you would like to subscribe, the yellow star in the bottom corner is. Oh, I knew something closed. My YouTube closed. I'm reopening YouTube. Sorry. I knew something closed when TikTok Studio was closed. I mean, we're still live on YouTube, just to be clear. It's just I can't see it. Let me update the gift goal quickly, and then we will continue. Reset. Yes. Oh, hats. Fun. Okay. Let me pin this, and then I'm going to reopen my YouTube window. Where are you, YouTube? I'll find you. I'm coming. New tab. New window. I don't know how that even happened and how I didn't notice. Okay. I'll do this in a second. Thank you. Yeehaw. Thank you for the hat. Appreciate it. Okay. Noam also launched a new... Oh, this is... Yeah. Sorry. I look much bigger on the screen since TikTok Studio is freaking out. Much more fun to do the hat dance. Let me I just need to get my YouTube up in really quick so I can see you guys again. Here we go. Okay. I'm back. This is what I was talking about Shellgate. Now, apparently James Comey, the former FBI director who Trump fired, is because James Comey said, I'm loyal to the Constitution, not to you. And Trump couldn't stand him and had to get rid of him because he wouldn't pledge undying loyalty to Donald Trump in his first term. Well, now we're in Shellgate, which I don't suggest you spending your time on X, but if you ever were wondering what's wrong with MAGA, I mean, their brains don't work. I can tell you. Noam also launched a new investigation today. Disgraced former FBI Director James Comey just called for the unaliving, according to MAGA, this is not true, of President Trump. DHS and Secret Service is investigating. This is the quote from Kristi Noem, by the way. I know I was reading a Chris Murphy quote. I just want to be clear. This is from Kristi Noem. Disgraced former FBI Director, that's Trump language, James Comey just called for I'm not saying that word, unaliving of President Trump. DHS and Secret Service is investigating this THREAT and will respond appropriately. Now, what are we talking about? You're like, I didn't hear about this. This is crazy. James Comey was at the beach and he posted a picture of some seashells, and that's what they're talking about. I'm not kidding you. He posted, don't post pictures of seashells or YouTube could be in a lot of trouble. That's what I learned this weekend. And watching MAGA. Thank you, Joby1, for the 10 giveaway subs. Joby1, you are amazing. And I missed you, by the way. Thank you. I haven't seen you since last Wednesday. Lovely to see you again. I need to get another plug-in mouse. And Jeremy, thank you for the $5 on Cash App for tuition and old-fashioned groceries. Exactly. For groceries. It's an old-fashioned word. No, it's not, weirdo. Oh, we met the gift goal. This is okay. I am noticing a change in TikTok Studio that's positive. It just forces you to update it just opens and tells you now. Update your gift goal. That's at least one positive change. Okay. Thank you again, Joby. And if you got Joby in the chat for the 10 giveaway subs. Okay, so why is this James Comey thing happening? I mean, you could say it is, but whatever. This was in response to Donald Trump Jr., who posted an Instagram post made by Comey, and Jr. captioned it this way. Just James Comey. Again, I'm not joking. It's a picture of shells, and it says 8647. And James Comey took a picture of shells. He was obviously at the beach and posted it. And then this is the quote. Again, I'm not making this up. This is what Donald Trump Jr. said in the caption. Just James Comey casually calling for my dad to be unalived. I'm not going to say that word either. This is who the Dem media worships. Demented. Again, I just need to be very clear that James Comey has and always has been a Republican. Like, it is so funny. What the are you talking about? So a Republican, a evangelical Republican has upset other group of Republicans, and whose fault is it? The Democratic media. Okay, cool. And by the way, like mass media, it all roads lead to billionaires anyways, who are not, I mean, by and large are not Democrats. So again, I don't even know what you're talking about when you're referring to Dem media. Like, I know I might have sworn. Sorry. It's just this James Comey thing is wild. James Comey has always been a Republican. I could give a million reasons I don't personally like James Comey, none of which have to do with Trump or anything he did with Donald Trump. But yeah, I mean, he's a Republican. So you guys hash it out with yourselves. Stop trying to blame everything that happens on us. Again, we're talking about a picture of seashells. This is what Comey posted. Okay, sorry. I didn't take a picture of it. Okay, so I want to talk about the credit rating. And again, these are, if you're wondering what I'm looking at, Ron Filipkowski does these, what would you call them? Like summaries. Like he does them, I think, 5 days a week, 4 days a week, I think is actual. Because the weekend is one day and he does a weekend summary. And then he does it 4 days during the week. The only day he doesn't do it is when he does his podcast. So I think these are good references to just, if you're ever looking like at the end of the day, like, oh, what's happened today? And I subscribe to Midas Touch because now like half of it will be cut off if you don't subscribe. But I do, if you're looking for a way, you're like, I can't keep up with the 24-hour news cycle. It'd be nice to just have like an aggregate summary of the most important things. I do recommend these. So this is from Friday. So again, I want to touch on the credit rating. For the first time since 1917, Moody's rating service downgraded the credit rating of the U.S., which will shake up the markets, affect interest rates on the debt, make it more expensive for people to buy houses. Like, this is insane and is a slap in the face to Trump and Mike Johnson. We expect federal deficits to widen. Now, Caroline Leavitt, who had the nerve to look into the camera during her press conference today and say that the reconciliation bill won't raise the deficit, won't widen the deficit. Well, Caroline, either learn to do math or quit your job. Reaching nearly 9% of the GDP by 2035, up from, and just to give you a comparison, because what does that mean if we don't have, that math only matters if you have relative numbers. So what we're saying is the deficit is going to increase. So it will be 9% of the gross domestic product by 2035. And in comparison, in 2024, when apparently Biden was running the economy into the ground, it was 6.4%. 6.4% of gross domestic product in 2024. So again, just like what Trump did in his first term, spent $8.4 trillion, spent more than any other president. It widened the deficit, right? Said, don't worry, these rando tariffs are going to bring in so much money. We can spend and spend and spend. He didn't bring in money. That's what the deficit is. When you don't bring in revenue and you spend more than you have. And he's doing it again on a scale never before seen, to the point when Moody's downgraded our credit rating, they directly cited Trump's big, beautiful bill as a reason. Great job, MAGA. Keep up that math very clearly. Yes, let's get rid of the Department of Education. You guys don't need math class. You guys are doing great. You guys are being robbed by the man you love. You can't do basic math. Let's get rid of the Department of Education, the only federal agency that was creating equity inside public education. Let's get rid of it. Driven mainly by increased interest payments on debt, rising entitlement spending, and relatively low revenue generation. Do you understand what revenue generation is? Trump is not bringing in any tax dollars. You can't just spend. You can't put a golden dome over the US. You can't give billions of dollars of contracts to your billionaire friends and bring in no money. I mean, I shouldn't have to tell people this. The only thing we should be talking about is our credit rating being downgraded on Friday. That's it. There should be no other conversation but Trump. This isn't an indicator of a recession. This is like welcome to hell. And we're talking about the Clintons, if Joe Biden's brain works, and James Comey taking a picture of shells. Keep up the good work, MAGA. I know. We really want that. I know, Navy vet. I want the dome, too. It's going to be so fun because we need it so bad. Elon Musk really wants that dome. The move came after, so the downgrade of the credit rating came after the budget reconciliation bill, like on Friday. This is what I was talking about. It couldn't get out of the committee. Was voted down 16-21 by the House Budget Committee. That doesn't mean that it is dead. Okay, so again, this was on Friday, and this was an explanation, which we know in the dead of night last night they agreed to just not vote, and it got out of committee. The no votes on the committee, which I do want to talk about because I'm so sick of these people. The no votes on the committee are right wingers who want poor people to suffer more. Just to be clear, they're like, not enough poor people won't be able to pay for their medicine. I refuse to vote for this unless more poor people will suffer. That's Andrew Clyde from Georgia. Ew, he's awful. Chip Roy. I'm coming back to Chip Roy. I've had it with him. Josh Brecheen, Ralph Norman, and I don't know much about Lloyd Smucker, but I'm assuming he's not very smart. Lloyd Smucker, what? Anyways, Chip Roy does this every single time. You watch now that I say this. Any bill, this is how Chip Roy does it every time. Oh, I'm not voting for this. Oh, I'm so tough. Like, this isn't getting out of committee. I'm a no vote. And then he always votes for it. I couldn't look my daughter in the face if I vote for this bill. But yeah, Chip, every single time you end up voting for the bills with you don't get anything. You just do this little, it's like kabuki theater. It's like the fake conservative Republicans pretend they're conservatives and they're like, I'm not voting for this, and do their little song and dance and stomp their feet. The only real one I see that has ever held out and been logically consistent about being a conservative is Thomas Massie from Kentucky. And I don't like Thomas Massie. I'm just pointing out that is the only Republican that can probably look in the mirror and say, I've been logically consistent at this point. The rest of these people, this is their like, oh, look, I'm opposing this bill. I'm doing my act. And then Trump gets mad at them and they're like, oh, never mind. Just kidding. I'm not a real conservative. Can't wait to drive our country into debt our children will never recover from. These no voters don't even include the faction that will oppose the bill if Medicaid is cut drastically. And that's true. There's another faction of people outside of the budget committee that are going to oppose the bill because of the Medicaid cuts. There's a lot of this is going to be a problem in the Senate too, just because the largest Medicaid cuts or the most people getting kicked off of Medicaid happen to be a lot of people in red states who are Trump voters. And there's a lot of people who are very scared to be part of this because they're thinking, yeah, I'm not going to be, especially the ones up for re-election in the midterms. They're thinking like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to come out of this. Like once people realize this sets in and people start realizing what this means, there's going to be a lot of Republicans in red states who have a lot of splaining to do. Did I read all of that? Oh, yeah. Okay. Who oppose if the Medicaid is cut drastically, or the other faction opposed to the $30,000 cap on SALT, which are state and local tax deductions, right? So that would mean there's only a 30 deduction for state and local taxes paid. Bottom line is that it is a mess. I mean, it is a mess, but that's the thing about Republicans. It doesn't matter. They don't work for their constituents. These aren't people. Margarine has, I can't remember the exact number, but I'm pretty sure Jasmine Crockett called it out during a hearing and was saying how many thousands upon thousands upon thousands. Marjorie Taylor Greene lives in a depressed, or not, she doesn't live in the district. She gerrymandered her way into. She doesn't live in Rome, Georgia, but those people are on Medicaid. Their children are on Medicaid. 40% of births in this country are paid for by Medicaid. She's betraying the people in the 14th district of Georgia. So here we go. Trump tried to push Republicans on the budget committee to vote for it this morning, but he was largely ignored. So he started throwing his weight around, and that's why I think it got pushed through in the dead of night, because he spent all weekend basically making calls and being like, either get in line with me or you'll be sorry. Republicans must unite behind, quote, the one big beautiful bill. Not only does it cut taxes for all Americans, that's not true. I can mathematically prove that not true, right? That's not true. It drives me nuts. For all Americans, but it will kick millions of illegal aliens off of Medicaid. No. To protect, these are lies. To protect it for those who are the ones in real need. We don't need grandstanders in the Republican Party. Stop talking and get it done. Okay, so list of random lies. Steve Bannon, who sided with the no voters, I did like this quote, who sided with the no voters, addressed Trump's post on his podcast. This is him speaking to Trump. Mr. President, I don't think these folks are grandstanding. The math simply doesn't work right now. There haven't been smart cuts. There haven't been enough cuts. President Trump has got a fiasco created by Mike Johnson, he's talking about, and clowns in the House that he has to fix. Oh, and here's Chip Roy pretending he wasn't going to let it out of committee. Chip Roy, no one believes you anymore. This bill falls profoundly short. It does not do what we say it does with respect to deficits. Of course it doesn't. And it still doesn't, even though you let it out of committee, you hypocrite. The fact of the matter is this bill has backloaded savings and has front-loaded spending. That's what Trump is doing. That is the one honest thing Chip Roy said. What it is it's backloaded savings and front-loaded spending. It basically just gives Trump a blank check to run this country into the ground, grift his way into anything he wants, give oligarchical favors to other billionaires, and basically just, these are 10-year budgets, and then just hand off this shit show to the next person. That is what he is going to do, is hand off a giant mess. A unbalanced budget, a deficit, an exploded deficit, debt we don't know what to do with, and just be like, here, bye. I'm done. I'm a grifter. I've now grifted my way into all this stuff. Bye. He said, I'm not going to sit here and say that everything is hunky-dory when this is the budget committee. This is the budget committee. Yeah, if only you didn't just, fold like a lawn chair last night, Chip. But whatever, we almost believed you there for a second. Ranking member Brendan Doyle drew laughter in the committee with this comment. There's a strong divide between Republicans and some other Republicans. Chuck Edwards, Republican from North Carolina. This is not the big, beautiful bill that I hoped for. The flaw with this bill is it doesn't go far enough, meaning too many poor people might still have health insurance, fast enough to get our fiscal house in order. I talk about Glenn Grothman and how he's one of the most horrible Republicans in the House. He's from wherever that little area in Wisconsin is, where like the birthplace of the Republican Party. What is that little city? That's where Glenn Grothman's from. I can't remember the name, but that little city where they have like the one-room house that you can go look at, where they're like, this is the birthplace of the Republican Party. Too many people out here did not get the wonderful bill that so many of us were expecting in January and February. He's talking about, I've played clips of Glenn Grothman on the House floor screaming about how poor people don't need anything and he's tired of, tax dollars paying for it. This is a guy who will have health insurance in perpetuity for serving in Congress. DJ Leopardus, thank you so much for the $3 on Cash App. It is so appreciated. Thank you. Jasmine Crockett, this is her quote. Let's be clear. The Republicans that vote, and this is exactly what I was trying to say. Let's be clear. The Republicans that voted no on the bill didn't do so because they want to stand with the American people. They did it because they want to see even more cuts made. So don't get confused. They didn't do this to stand with you. Democrats will continue holding the line and pushing back to protect healthcare, SNAP, and the services that millions of Americans need to survive. Exactly. Like, that's the beauty here. These Republicans aren't doing the right thing. As a matter of fact, they're completely depraved. Oh, I don't want to read Jody Arrington's quote. Caroline Leavitt, again, this was Friday, then issued a THREAT from Dear Leader, who is displeased with his subjects. Quote, the White House will continue to have conversations. This is what I was telling you. He spent all weekend throwing his weight around and being like, you better get that bill out of committee, which they all folded like lawn chairs and did. This is what I'm saying. When Chip Roy talks, it means nothing. The only person with a spine that is a Republican in the House is Thomas Massie. The White House will continue to have conversations over the weekend, strongly urging House members to seize the generational opportunity before them and drive our deficit and debt into the ground and vote for this historic legislation to fix the mess Joe Biden created. Again, if you believe that Joe Biden left our economy in a mess, then you're not right. You are a person who can't read or do math. Trump inherited a bull economy, an economy that was expected to expand, not contract. Interest rates, projected interest rates cuts that were supposed to happen. Trump drove the economy into the ground all on his own. Those are facts. And if you understand how to look up numbers, then you can confirm that. I'm tired. It is 100% false that this is some problem Joe Biden created. Joe Biden lowered the deficit with that's the truth. Trump didn't lower the deficit in his first term. He's about to explode the deficit now. Stop blaming this on Joe Biden. It's not Joe Biden's fault. Joe Biden corrected the economy, brought inflation down. He recovered the best in the G7 from an unavoidable pandemic. Trump had no pandemic. There's no new wars. Well, I mean, besides all the wars that have randomly sprung up, but they're not affecting our economy. This is not Ukraine-Russia war that broke down the supply chain that we then had to rebuild during a worldwide pandemic. There's none of that. This is just Trump grifting and trying to clamp down on authoritarian control of corporations, of other countries, of federal workers, of governors of states, of all sorts of things. And in the process is driving our economy into the ground. That's it. I've missed you too, Real Life Works. Thanks for saying that. I know I've missed you guys. I had my family in town, then my hot water heater completely went kaput, and my cat got sick. I've had quite a last 5-6 days. So believe me, today I wasn't even going to go live today, but then my dad came. My dad was home to handle the water heater and stuff. So I was like, I miss them so much. I can't not be here again. Sorry, I've got to moisturize my lips. I feel like it's Arizona. It is so dry here. We are in. Oh, speaking of climate crisis, I know MAGA. It doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. I do want to report, though, that we on average are 5 degrees hotter than the composite average of like the last 10 years in Arizona. We're not going to survive. So when there are like 7 million climate refugees that can no longer inhabit the desert, the Sonoran deserts of Arizona, I do want you to tell me again how there's no climate crisis, because we are about, someone just said they're moving to AZ right in time for there not to be any water. Welcome. Come on down. Hopefully we'll have, enough water for at least a few more years. We can do this. I know AZ does have awful summers. I wish you could feel how hot it was just right now in this room I'm in the air. A billion refugees. Yes, thank you, Andre. Andre in the comments said a billion refugees from climate by 2100. I want to. That is something that people don't understand. Like, it's not just going to be wars or America idiotically interfering and putting economic sanctions on countries, and which poverty drives crime, and then they flee to the southern border of America. Oh yeah, it will be climate crisis. Just with the average way sea levels are rising, we are losing inhabitable areas, and we will have climate refugees. That's why, yeah, I mean, but don't tell MAGA. They don't believe any of that's real. They'll figure it out. How many people were unalived? Where was it? Kentucky, and by tornadoes? Good luck. There's no FEMA. You guys got this. You guys got this. We're not prepared at all for hurricane season. I can't wait for all the red states to realize that no one's coming to help them. We're hurricane season starting. Good luck. Good luck, Florida. You wanted Trump. I can't wait for you guys. You guys are going to do great. You guys got this. Anyways, Rand Paul and Fox, the problem for conservatives such as myself is it's asking us to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion in just 2 years. That's historic. Nobody has ever raised the debt ceiling that much. Remember waste, fraud, and abuse? Oh yeah, it's you guys. If the Doge cuts are real, why are we going to borrow another $5 trillion? Great question, Rand Paul, who, again, I said Thomas Massie seems to be the only person with a spine of all the Republicans in the House. Well, and God, I don't like Rand Paul. I don't want to say these things, but he does seem to be the only of all the fake libertarians, like while Senator Mike Lee of Utah is busy trying to ban corn. You hear that, MAGA? Yeah, they might ban corn. Great. You guys are doing great jobs. Keep reelecting these weirdos. And instead of being real libertarians and pointing out, oh, tariffs are taxation without representation, and this is a crime, the rest of these fools are selling the lie that you guys are getting a tax cut. And maybe it's time. Let's take a little break from going through this stuff. And let me just pull up, because I'm going to pull up that article I was talking about on the tax cuts. Oh, how can I? I'm just trying to remember. I'm sure I can find my place again. I'll figure it out. Let me pull this up. Thank you so much for the gifts. Keep tapping the screen. We're almost at 200K. Amazing job with the fingers. You guys are awesome. Let me make sure this is the right article. Do we want to wait? I think I have both open. Okay, I'm going to start with, I'll get to the no tax on tips second, but I'm going to start with, because I found this amazing think tank bill that I think gives a comprehensive look at what I say. No, you're not getting a tax cut. Stop listening to Donald Trump, who has proven time and time again he either can't do math or is a liar. So this is, and I'll make it smaller in 1 second. I just want to show everyone. Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. This is a great think tank. It's cbpp.org, and this is the think tank analysis I'm using. Republicans' agenda, triple threat to low and moderate income family well-being. Legislation, executive actions, and tariffs will harm millions. And that's what you have to look at, right? When Trump is saying, oh, people are getting tax cuts, or I was listening to Caroline Leavitt just lie through her teeth and be like, great job, like average American MAGA person, you're getting a tax cut. No, the F you're not, right? Because they're just using to say, oh, we're just continuing TCJA tax cuts. But that's not, you have to look at comprehensive how this will all be driven into the ground. And let me find the right paragraph. Okay, here we go. This 3-part agenda, legislation, here, oh yeah, I can make it bigger when I use this. Legislation, executive action, and tariffs. The Trump administration and congressional Republicans are pursuing will reduce the living standards and raise costs for millions of families with modest incomes while helping pave the way for tax cuts skewed to the wealthy. And it's important to understand that the justification for this upward income redistribution, I love those words. That's exactly what this is, MAGA. You are being robbed too, whether you like it or not. We're all in the same life raft. And that's, wait, let me repeat that. And it's important to understand the justification for this upward income redistribution. That is transfers of wealth to the top of the economy and the rich. And I just want to remind you, from 1980 to 2022, 1980, when you started hearing, don't tax the rich or corporations and it'll trickle down. $50 trillion from 1980 to 2022 has trickled up. Nothing's trickling down to us. And this bill that you guys are this reconciliation bill is one of the biggest transfers of wealth ever, in concert with the tariffs and with Trump's executive actions. And that's the tail, right? Like, because Trump wants you to see it as, oh, look, I'm just continuing the TCJA. You're welcome. But that's not the full mathematical story of how we're all being robbed. So that's what we have to get clear. So again, they're trying to justify it by saying, hey, by this redistribution of wealth to the top of the economy, oh, there's going to be faster economic growth. And then they're doing that. And again, that might trickle down to you, is unlikely to materialize. In fact, the sweeping tariffs that Trump has imposed have heightened risks of a recession, hence our credit rating as a country being downgraded. And low-paid workers will bear the brunt. To illustrate the I love when we get into distributional consequences of this triple threat policy agenda, we show in figure 1 below that the combination of extending the 2017 tax law, that's the TCJA if you're confused, deep cuts to Medicaid and SNAP consistent with the House budget, that's the reconciliation bill, and the tariffs announced in 2025, so the three altogether, would reduce the income of households in the bottom 60% of the income distribution by an average of $1,870. So MAGA, what we're doing here is, even with your alleged tax cuts you can't figure out you're not getting, you still end up paying. You're not getting tax cuts. Surprise! Isn't that great when you can actually do real math, what you learn? Or the equivalent of more than 4 months of groceries. And as we know from Donald Trump, groceries is an old word. It's essentially the food that you put into a basket and bring to a register that you then purchase, right? I mean, none of us are getting tax cuts or the equivalent of more than 4 months of groceries. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the package would increase the income of households with incomes in the what? Top 1% by an average of $25,500. So the average bottom 60% of this country will be paying $1,870 more on average, some more, while the top 1% of households will be getting a $25,500 savings. The chart in some ways understates the potential harms. So they're saying we're underestimating the potential harms for families because it does not include the effects of the administration's extraordinary executive actions, right? Which, yeah, I could go into the harm of those. But anyways, these policies would affect families of all races. So we're kind of not getting into the specific people that could be harmed by Trump's executive orders, but just say in general, we're trying to average it out. That's why they're saying some people are going to be harmed way more. Of all races, by reducing assistance or access to assistance while in conjunction raising costs even more, but would particularly affect, communities of color, given their low incomes due to past and ongoing discriminations in areas like housing and hiring. Yep, that's that wage gap situation. Far from shared sacrifice, this fiscal policy agenda hurts the people, families, and communities the president pledged to serve during the campaign. That's you, MAGA. You're being robbed while you sit there and say, oh, Trump's doing amazing things for me. What you're saying when you defend Trump is, hi, I can't do math. Just say that. Just say, hey, I'm really struggling to do math and to read at a basic 5th grade level. Just say that. And then we'll be like, okay. And then we can find you like colorful charts that you may be able to read easier, like this one. So everything I was just reading, this is the chart if you want to screenshot it, that illustrates what I'm talking about. See, the top 1% would gain $25,500, a 1.7% positive change in income. The top 20% make about $250 on average, 0.1% positive change in income. The fourth 20% lose $1,410 on average. So they lose 1.6% of their income. Middle 20 percentile lose $1,610. They lose 2.8% of their income. Second 20%, or bottom second, yeah, I mean, that sounds a little confusing, but you get what I'm saying, would lose 1,720 and lose 5.6%. This is what regressive tax systems are. You are looking at a regressive tax system due to tariffs and Trump's shitty executive actions that aren't harming anyone at the top of the economy. You are looking at a graph of regressive tax systems and how they punish people at the bottom of the economy. The bottom 20% lose $2,270, 10.1% of their income. If you're making like $40,000, do you have 20% of your income to lose? No, you really don't. This is the story there. I can help you out. No. Great job, MAGA. Keep doing that math where you don't do any and you don't read and you just say, well, Trump said, this is the real mathematical story of what Trump has done to us with executive actions, with tariffs, and with Trump's big, beautiful reconciliation bill. How much are you getting robbed? Unless you are in the top 20%, you make $250. But unless you're in the top 1%, then you get your $25,500. Those are the only, who gives a F about $250? Anyways, that's even nothing. Unless you're in the top 1% or higher, you're getting nothing. Thank you for the hat. Appreciate it. I should update my gift goals. Oh, and I'm just going to take this opportunity or repin it. I don't need to update it. I need to update the other gift goal. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank Eve, if you're here, thank you so much. Like, Eve built a website for me, and I also saw, I think they made me an intro song for the People's Receipts. I have been running around like a chicken with my head cut off, getting a hot water heater installed, taking care of my cat, and I just wanted, Fax's community, and if Eve is a mod for Fax, that's how I met her, but we were fast becoming friends, and I just wanted to thank you guys, not just for the way you support me, but also for the way you support Fax, Steve, because I don't know, there's just so many great people in your community, and it's just been a pleasure to get to know you all. Thank you for, making me a part of it. It's a pleasure. Okay, so I just want to scroll back up and actually I'll find this I'll send this article to you all as well. That's what I should have done. I have this I'll find this in a second and I'll send it to everyone, because I do want to make sure that because that's when I said I wanted to address this, because it just stuck in my brain. TikTok came up when we were debating with Pickles last Wednesday and was bringing up Tommy and I had this guy on the live and he was saying, no tax on tips is in here and there are some good things and people are this is all of that factored in. All the crap that you think Trump is giving you, and you are still losing money, right? Trump isn't factoring in tariffs. In order to give this $25,500 on average to the top 1% each household, we have to pay every time we buy groceries, every time we need electronics. That's the punishment. We are being taxed without representation, as Rand Paul keeps pointing out, at the cash register. Here, let me just make sure I find this. Is this it? Yeah. Okay, I'll send this I'm going to send this to everyone in the Discord. I'll just at everyone, and it will be in the general chat as well. But if you have your notifications on, and a good chance to say, join the Discord if you're not in there. In my link tree, whether you're on Twitch. Oh, thanks, Navy Vet. I'm going to use this picture. I just saw you put it in the general chat. I'm going to save it, and I'll show people it too, because that's ridiculous. Navy Vet put the picture of the stupid shells, the James Kobe shells that they say is an unaliving attempt. Here, just making sure I get this in here. Okay, I sent it to everyone. The article is in the general chat now, or at least the link to it. Okay, so the Trump administration's main goal, tax cuts for the wealthy, financed by cutting health coverage and food assistance that millions of families need. I've been hearing people kind of, I don't know, like in the chat and stuff, discrediting AI. I wouldn't discredit AI, right? Like AI, like it's okay to use AI to do statistical analysis and things. I mean, most good AI, like if you use DeepSeek, they will show you the math and the formulas they're using, and you can, check the math on your own or check it against something else. So, and they'll show you the sources where they're doing the statistical analysis from, because in all actuality, AI gets things right on, actually, let's say more than Fox News. Not because Fox News is lying, AI is, I would say, actually is pretty accurate. Like I'm giving that example because I love, one of my favorite things, I hang out on X so you don't have to, is Elon Musk created this AI tool called Grok. And the best thing is like someone on Fox is lying, Caroline Leavitt this morning is like, Trump's reconciliation bill doesn't add to the deficit, and then just somewhat underneath is just like, all you have to do is say, Grok, is this true? And then Grok like fact checks it and is like, no. It's fascinating to watch. Like people use Elon Musk's own tool to debunk him and also other people who are lying. I think I have that. Hold on. What I just talked about, I think I took a screenshot of it. Let me find it really quick because I just want to read it. It's really funny. Oh, here it is. Hey Grok, does this bill add to the deficit? This is Grok's like automated response. Independent analyses like from the Tax Foundation, CRFB, so now they're quoting different think tanks, estimate the big beautiful bill could add 3.3 trillion. Are you listening, MAGA? This is Elon Musk's AI tool, Grok. 3.3 trillion to 5.3 trillion to the deficit over 10 years due to tax cuts. 3.3 to 5.3 trillion. The White House claims 1.6 trillion in savings, but no, hold on, because that's another thing. Trump keeps just, puzzle piece. Give me 1 second to make sure I don't miss it. Okay, got it. We are good. Trump keeps, and you think it's crazy for the White House to say they've saved 1.6 in savings. When Trump was in the Middle East at some point, just started yelling out 14 trillion. And like it's insane. The White House claims 1.6 trillion in savings, but no clear evidence from CEA supports this. Evidence leans toward a deficit increase, not savings. That's Elon Musk's AI tool. So I'm just saying, not that AI can't make a mistake, but AI is essentially just fed actual information from all across the internet, and it's just able to basically do basic logic and reasoning and math. So I would say 9 times out of 10, AI is probably going to be, they're always more accurate than MAGA. Which I love when Elon Musk's own AI tool is used to shame MAGA, because MAGA's like, see, it's not adding to the deficit. And then they just ask Elon Musk's AI tool, and Elon Musk's AI tool is like, yeah, it is. We're going bankrupt. But again, I just want to make sure. I think there's one more graph I want to get over. Okay, yeah, here we go. The Trump administration's main policy priority is extending the expiring provisions of the TCJA, the 2017 tax cuts, as part of a party line bill using the fast track reconciliation process. The annual cost of extending the individual and estate tax provisions of the 2017 tax law is about $400 billion. And this is what you don't understand, MAGA, because I get it. You want your hey, I was paying $300 less in taxes a year, or whatever your small little savings are. But you can't do both, right? You can't support the TCJA, which our tax cuts weren't in perpetuity and were much smaller. The real tax cuts went to the rich and corporations, which we know mathematically none has trickled down. In fact, just more has trickled up. Right. But if you're defending the TCJA, it's costing $400 billion a year. And we've talked about the deficit, how you have to bring in revenue, primarily through tax revenue. You can't spend and spend and spend and bring nothing in. So you can't support the TCJA and then the even deeper tax cuts on top of it that will blow out the deficit and then also say you're fiscally responsible conservatives. These things cannot exist in the same place. They're diametrically opposed. Gigi, I like the way you spelled that. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate it. We have 431 subscriptions. If you would like to subscribe, that's the yellow star in the bottom left-hand corner. I have to pay for a water heater. So if you would like, this is my Cash App and Venmo. If you like the people's receipts and all the research I do, also please do. You can, like I said, oh, here, I missed one. Sorry, Chelsea. Cash App and Venmo is the same. It's a girl has no name, just like my profile name. Also, follow me if you're not following me. I think I have like 300 or 400 followers until I get to 200,000. Sorry, I just remembered I have coffee. Chelsea, thank you so much for the $6.47. Such a random number. I love it. Recently found you. I love your in-depth information. FYI, your Venmo link isn't working. Oh, I know. I know. My Linktree link in Venmo doesn't work. So that's why I just have this here. My name is the same on Cash App and Venmo. I would just put it in there because I know someone told me that, and I have no idea why. I feel like I follow the directions AI gives me and then it still doesn't work. It used to be. Oh, wait. I feel like I need to read this. Yeah, here we go. Extending the expiring tax cuts. So this is you got to make a decision. Are you a conservative or not? Are you fiscally conservative or you're not? Extending the expiring tax cuts, however, deliver large benefits for the wealthy. Millionaire households, gross, would get tax cuts averaging, this is what we're signing up for, $54,190 and a 2.9% increase in after-tax incomes. A 2.9% increase in after-tax incomes. What the... it's sickening to even read. Meaning, they're after tax, they're now going to make 2.9% more, and the rest of us are going to be making less. Indeed, roughly half the cost of extending the expiring tax cuts would flow to households with incomes in the top 5%. Did you hear that? Roughly half the cost. So again, I just want to... $400 billion a year is what it's costing us in tax dollars to just extend the TCJA. And what they're saying is over half of that, roughly half the cost of extending the expiring tax cuts would flow to households with incomes in the top 5%. You are not getting anything, MAGA. You keep saying the art of the deal and you like to negotiate. You are getting robbed. We are all getting robbed together until we all stand up, use our collective bargaining power, and demand some respect. We're all going to keep getting robbed. As long as you run cover for the guy robbing us and the billionaires that are clustered around him laughing at you, we will continue to all be robbed together. What are we going to do about it? I do suggest that it's written here. The math is mathing. This is the reality. You don't just look at the lies the White House gives you about the reconciliation bill. You have to factor in tariffs and the damage of Trump's executive actions. The House passed budget resolution, that's the reconciliation bill, calls for $4.5 trillion of tax cuts over the fiscal year 25. So again, 25 to 2034. That's the 10-year budget window. More than enough to cover the cost of extending the expiring individual and estate tax cuts over that period. As a result, the House budget creates room for additional tax cuts. That's what I said. It's not even just about extending the mess the TCJA created. It's like, but wait, there's more. Several leading House Republicans have signaled that enacting a series of business-related tax cuts related to the 2017 tax law, as well as increasing the amount of state and local taxes high earners can deduct. That's the SALT deductions. So when you hear that, like, they're saying SALT deductions capped at $30K, these are really rich people in New York who are trying to say, I'm already paying so much in state and local taxes. I want that to be deducted from my federal taxes. More tax breaks for the rich. You cannot write this stuff. There's no way, if you can read and do basic math, to not understand that we are all being robbed. There's no way to misinterpret this. But I'm sure MAGA will find a way to misunderstand, because you always do. My hopes are not high, but I do think if I say it slow enough, one day some of you might get it. Okay, these policy changes would increase both the size of the tax cuts received by high earners and the regressivity. Remember, I talked about regressive taxes of the package, likely exceeding the generosity of any populist sounding tax breaks like no tax on tips that are included. So I know that's a little confusing, MAGA, big words, so I'm going to help you understand. What they're saying is that this tax plan, this budget is so favorable, right? It's such a regressive tax plan that even things that are geared towards poor people, like no tax on tips, are going to be offset. That's what I was explaining to you in that chart above, that even with no tax on tips factored in, even with no tax on overtime, which when you really will dig into that next, because it's all just smoke and mirrors, it means nothing. We're getting nothing. Every time we pay at the cash register, we're being taxed, so rich people can get even more. The House budget then instructs several House committees to achieve various levels of savings. So then they're like, here's the money we need to give to $25,500 per household of the 1%. They need to be just saving. So then they basically instruct like energy and commerce, agriculture is SNAP, energy and commerce is Medicaid, right? You need to cut this many millions or billions of dollars, right? To cut at least $880 billion. That's energy and commerce. That's the Medicaid. The Agriculture Committee to cut at least $230 billion. That's SNAP. The Education and Workforce Committee to cut at least $330 billion. And other committees to also cut programs to reach a cumulative target of at least $1.5 trillion in cuts through 2034. So when you hear the White House say $1.5 trillion in savings, that's the number, but we're not saving anything. Just understand the 1 point alleged that they're going to steal from poor people so there won't be, Medicaid, SNAP, whatever. That doesn't offset the extreme tax cuts for the wealthy. We are still blowing out the deficit. And again, I showed you the estimate. The estimate is 3.5 to 5.5 trillion for the deficit. So Trump could say, oh, there's 1.5 trillion in savings. There is not. That's just what they can find. And they think maybe poor people will tolerate no one's tolerating this. You're stealing from us. So rich people can collect and save more. And I've said this, as long as capital gains taxes, as long as we tax capital gains at a lower rate than we tax income, money will always be stuck at the top of the economy, right? As long as income taxes are higher than capital gains tax, then money is just going to be held up here and it's never coming back down. Did I miss some? I want to make sure I don't. Yeah, so the 1.5 trillion in cuts through 2024. Moreover, these committee targets are minimums or floors, meaning the committees must cut at least that amount and may cut more. In fact, a provision in the House budget pushes the committees to cut more by requiring the overall level of program cuts to reach 2 trillion to retain the full 4.5 trillion in tax cuts. When the answer is just everyone should pay their fair share. But nope, this is a society that rewards the rich and steals from the poor. Yeah, and that just goes more here. House budget shifts more income toward the wealthy, cuts healthcare, food, help for college, right? This is a graph that shows like exactly what I was just reading. The 1.4 trillions in cuts affecting low, middle, and middle income people may include $230 billion to SNAP, reducing vital food assistance for over 40 million, $330 billion to student loan affordability, so affecting up to 5 million. Yeah, because God knows they don't want anyone in college anymore. $880 billion of cuts to Medicaid, which provides health coverage to 72 million people. 40% of babies who are born are paid for by Medicaid. But hey, let's force women to give birth and have no insurance. And 1.8 trillion in tax cuts would go to people with incomes in the top 5%. Right? This, not as much as this. Just this is just basic, and this is not even all. We're just talking about incomes in the top 5%. It's much worse than that. I do love a chart. And I always talk about the budget lab at Yale. The Yale budget lab, if you're ever looking for numbers, like bookmark the budget lab at Yale. They have great illustrations, and they help people like MAGA understand things with pretty pictures. The potential harm of tax and spending policies inherent in the House budget by calculating the net effects for different income groups of extending the 2017 tax law and making these cuts to Medicaid and SNAP suggested in the House budget. The Budget Lab found that this would reduce, now MAGA, are you listening? Because I'm talking to you. This would reduce the incomes of families with incomes in the bottom 40% while leaving tax cuts for the top 1% of families essentially unchanged. So, and I want you to understand what I said, because I know some of this can get confusing. You're like, what? What they're saying is, if we just simply extend the TCJA, which MAGA believes is them getting a tax cut, what we know is because of Trump's executive orders and these cuts that are being made in the budget, actually the bottom 40%, right? This reduces the incomes of families in the bottom 40%. You're losing food assistance, healthcare assistance, other programs that you then have to pay for. Right? And the top 1% of families essentially unchanged. That's what regressive tax plans are. When they burden the bottom of the economy and the people at the top just keep amassing wealth. The new Senate budget retains the instructions to House committees analyzed above, but in an extraordinary sleight of hand, its instructions to Senate committees do not match the House instructions. The Senate committees with jurisdiction over SNAP and student loans are directed to cut at least $1 billion over 10 years, rather than the far higher levels in the House instructions, which I think it's not going to go that way. So I think that's less important to talk about, because it's looking like it's probably going to go the way of the House. But you never know what the Senate will do in the end, but we'll see. If that be like, that just has to do with the rules. Like when the Senate was approving the budget, their budget, it was like they just weren't going to cut anything. They were just going to approve $5 trillion of debt, and they were going to barely cut anything, which is, it means people wouldn't lose healthcare, but I mean the debt we would accrue would be, we're just mismanaging the budget no matter how you talk about it. But I think that comes from a lot of senators in red states being like, I'm not getting reelected and I'm very scared. Ave, thank you so much for the $25 on Cash App. You don't know how much I appreciate it. She said, thank you for today's receipts. No, thank you. You are amazing. Oh, I need to read this Supreme Court. Supreme Court lets Trump lift deportations. Wait, lets Trump lift deep. Oh, I love how Trump is lifting the TPS status. Did you hear that, Venus? I'm sorry. This is just for us Hispanics. Just let's all have a moment. Did you hear that, Venezuelans? All the male Hispanic Venezuelans that voted for themselves to be deported. Just let's have a moment of silence for all the Hispanics for Trump that have voted to lose their temporary protected status. Great job. And to my own relatives who voted to lose their birthright citizenship. Great job, Hispanics. You really stuck it to the trans people, though. They were up to something. You guys are right. Think about that. While you're being deported, but at least I stuck it to trans people. While you're being hustled on over to El Salvador, possibly to never be heard from again, we don't know at this point. Just think in your head, yeah, stuck it to trans people. You guys are really smart. I can't. Sorry. That's for most of my relatives. I can't. Make it make sense, but don't worry. Trans people are suffering. You guys did a great job. I feel like there's one more thing I want to show. Oh yeah. This is just about the strain on Social Security and the workload. But I have a better video on that. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I want to cover? Again, I sent this to everyone in the Discord, or it's just in the general chat, the link, but I added everyone. So if you have your notifications set, Yeah. Oh, this is another good. I mean, there's just a wealth of information in here, but tariff plans are part of scheme of distributing wealth from low and moderate income families to the wealthy. And that's the lie you're being told. Oh, don't worry. If you live in a swing state, you've seen these commercials on repeat. Democrats are trying to take away your tax cuts. No, we're not. We can just do math. None of this makes sense. You have to factor in the tariffs that in order you're getting a tiny little tax cut that when you then factor in every time you're at the cash register, you're paying taxes that Congress didn't even approve. We're all in the red. That's the point. And direct them to this part of the article if you ever can't figure it out. But because we need to I want to pull up the no tax on tip stuff. And God, it's a weird day when the most informative article I can find. I mean, they're quoting a think tank, but this article is a USA Today article, which I do find funny. House Republican bill includes no tax on tips proposal. How would it work? How many workers stand to benefit? The answer is not very many at all. Again, this is just an example of populists like MAGA hears something, they're like, oh, that's cool. No, it's not going to be cool. Here's a quote. I love the Brookings Tax Policy Center, amazing brains. A relatively small number of workers are going to see any significant tax savings from this proposal, says Joseph Rosenberg, a senior fellow at Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center. Here's what we know so far about the latest proposal. Who qualifies for no tax on tips? The bill would create a temporary tax deduction through 2028 for employees and independent contractors in occupations that, and see, this is why I'm like, I don't think it's going to extend to like influencers or other traditionally and customarily received tips, likely servers, for example. Now, when you say traditionally, how long do you have to have traditionally received tips? I don't know. Like, is that delivery work? I mean, we'll see. Should the bill pass, those occupations, and I talked about this, a tax accountant sent this to me last Wednesday. Basically, within, I think, 90 days after this bill passes, or it's included in the reconciliation bill, a list of occupations will be sent to the Treasury Secretary, and then that list will be published, and then we'll know, like, if any of us or none of us are included. But it really isn't about the occupations. That's not how we're all getting effed, actually. So don't get excited. It's actually, even if we are included, it's still pretty bleak. So first of all, highly compensated workers. I love how 160,000 is highly compensated in 2025. Highly compensated workers who make at least 160,000. You're not eligible. So if you make over 160,000, ineligible. How much would tipped workers save through no tax on tips? So some tax policy, let me see. I keep forgetting I can enlarge when I'm on these articles. Some tax policy experts have critiqued the idea because of its limited scope, meaning this is just a populist idea that MAGA is like, yeah, Trump's doing something. It's not what it looks like when you look at the numbers. Kyle Pomerleau, like that name, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, a center-right think tank. They called the Brookings a left-leaning think tank. And I don't even know American Enterprise Institute was a center-right think tank. Who is writing this? Said it would be an unfair policy. See, a center-right think tank. I don't consider American Enterprise. I don't know. Whatever. For instance, why should a restaurant's tip server have access? Think about this. That's a great question. Have access to more tax breaks than the untipped chef working in the kitchen. Yeah, I know. And that's when you really get down to this, how it makes no sense. It's good news for workers out in Nevada. If you don't know why they're saying that, like, there's huge unions in Nevada that run like the Vegas casinos and stuff. And that's what they're talking about, with like service unions, where there are a lot of tipped workers, says Pomerleau. But you are isolating one segment of the population. Even tipped workers may find themselves ineligible for the tax break. The proposed tax cuts, this is where it gets weird. Tax cut applies only to income taxes. So understand that it's on your income. It's not payroll taxes. That means the estimated 37% of, so this only, let's say there's 37% of actual tipped workers that fall into this category in America. So right there, just know 63% of people this doesn't apply to at all. But let's say that that means the estimated 37% of tipped workers in the country who didn't make enough money to face federal income taxes in 2022 would see no benefits from this proposal. Right? Like if you make under the line and you are not eligible to pay federal income taxes, then it doesn't even matter. This is about federal income tax. It's not payroll tax. And again, that's from the Yale Budget Lab. So it's also going to do very little for workers, even that receive tips at the low to middle part of the income distribution. I know this is where it gets really shitty. This is from the Tax Policy Center. Last year found ending taxes on tips. Wait, hold on. The Tax Policy Center last year found ending taxes on tips would benefit about 2% of all households, or 60% of households with tipped workers, with an average tax cut about $1,800 per year. Rosenberg said the analysis had not been updated since the tax plan was unveiled on May 12th, but he expects the figures to be similar. 2% of all households. Great. Another 2024 analysis from the Yale Budget Lab, so this is 2024, this is more recent, had similar results, finding an estimated 4 million tipped workers, 2.5% of the total working population. So again, 2.5% of the total working population this would apply to would benefit from no taxes on tips. So 4 million tipped workers. The average tax cut for families who benefit would be roughly $1,700, while the bottom fifth of earners would save $200. So understand, that's why I was showing first that comprehensive, how you actually tell if you're being robbed by Trump's plans. You have to factor in executive orders, and you have to factor in the tariffs and the cost. So, which that did, and we know we are still paying. It's completely offset by the cost of tariffs. How much will it cost to implement no taxes on tips? Overall, the tip provision is estimated to cost about, understand this, because this is what I talk about Trump mismanaging the budget. It's going to cost $40 billion over 4 years. So this is more, we're spending money to benefit 2.5%, about 4 million people in this country, and we're going to pay $40 billion over 4 years. It doesn't make any sense. According to the Joint Committee on Taxation, it's a small fraction of the tax bill, which is estimated to add roughly $4 trillion, that's probably an average, to the deficit, but still a notable figure. According to Alex Merceno, I probably said that wrong, Mercenu, a senior policy tax analyst at the Tax Foundation, a center-right tax policy. Why do they keep saying that? I don't think the Tax Foundation is center, whatever. If you're going to drive a hole in the tax base for no reason, they're saying bring in less revenue, cost $40 billion, and it benefits such a small amount of people, right? You'd rather that hole be the size of a VW Bug instead of a semi-truck, he told USA Today. But at the end of the day, you're still driving a hole in the tax base. He's saying you're going to blow out the deficit. You're not bringing in revenue, and Trump is spending and spending and spending. The same thing he did before. Meanwhile, the GOP tax bill as a whole could cause low-income families to lose, this is what we were talking about in the last article, to lose hundreds of dollars in after-tax income by cutting spending on programs like Medicaid and Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. That's the point. When you actually factor in all the costs that are now going to be accrued by middle and low-income families, they are spending more. While the top 0.1% of earners would gain $389,280 on average next year, Americans making between $17,000 and $51,000 stand to lose $705 on average. This is an analysis by the New York Times. Those with an income less than $17,000 would lose more than $1,000 on averages, with losses worsening over time. These are regressive taxes, where the poor and middle classes are punished disproportionately more. Americans could be squeezed further if the tax breaks have employers and workers lean more heavily on tips, exacerbating post-pandemic tipping fatigue, which this is a whole other article I was going to share with you guys, because what could end up happening is that now we're forced to pay even more tips as consumers, which costs us more money. Right? Like the burden of tipping is on us anyways. Like this is another way for corporations to not pay their workers. Thank you guys so much for 275K, almost to 300K. Keep tapping the screen. But I just want to make sure we go through the math and understand, right? If they're now saying like, oh, let's just, I can make it so I'm paying less in, taxes. We're changing our tax models. This is a human behavior thing. Oh, wait, what article? There was a human behavior model in one of these that was talking about this. I'll find it and I'll screenshot it for tomorrow. Americans could be squeezed further if the tax breaks have employers and workers lean more heavily on tips, right? That means then who's responsible for those tips? Not corporations. We are. It's another cost to us. While the latest proposal has guardrails that would limit the ability to restructure pay, which is better because that means it would be less on us. Certainly in tip-eligible industries, there would be a tax incentive to shift income toward tax-exempt tips instead of taxable wages, meaning the burden would shift to us, the consumers, to tip more and to shift the pay model to tips, which then we pay anyways as consumers. No matter how you look at this, it costs us money, not corporations, not the wealthy. And that's what I mean by regressive tax. It costs us more as people who make less a year, right? That's a regressive tax than it does the rich. Wait, hold on. Sales tax on tariffs when tariffs be part of the sale of the goods. Exactly. What happens next? Oh, yeah. It's not clear. Yeah, we have to wait and see the final tax bill. I wanted to show one other article, which I think I have pulled up. Hold on. Ooh, did I just mute something? No. I wanted to show the no tax on overtime. I think I have that one up too. Which I guess this would be a center-right think tank. I've never thought in terms. I just like, if math, I don't know why it has to be center-right or left. It's math. But again, this is from the AmericanActionForum.org. No tax on overtime, winners and losers. And it's very similar to the no tax on tips. And remember, the first article we went through already shows you, right? Unless you're in the top 1%, where you are getting like $25,500 added to your income when all this is factored in, including no tax on tips, including no tax on overtime, we're all paying more, period. But I'm going through these individual things that MAGA somehow thinks is going to save them money, even though we already started and proved it doesn't, because all this was factored into the numbers we're looking at. But let's go over no tax on overtime. President Trump's call to alter federal tax law to exempt overtime compensation from taxation. Now, remember, Trump also has made it harder to receive overtime. Biden is the one that made it easier to receive overtime pay, especially when it comes to corporations receiving federal tax dollars. And Trump and federal judges put a stop to that. So there might be no tax on overtime, but it's going to be harder to qualify for overtime, is the first thing. But while this policy would put more money into the pockets of workers who regularly work overtime, it would also create unintended consequences that could affect roughly 97.7 million overtime eligible workers, including changes in employer and employee behavior. That would result in decreased average wages in affected markets. So you're going to make fewer wages. This is actually a fascinating article. I can send this to you guys as well. I don't want to go through all of this because there's so many different bills, but I want to just go over the numbers. Yeah, here we go. Overview of no tax on overtime policy. What compensation would be exempted and from which taxes? There's many bills that have been presented and they're using kind of a conglomeration of all of them. But I want to make sure I get this right because I read through this already. The bills in Congress to enact a no tax on overtime policy, such as the KEEP Act or the Overtime Pay Act relief of 2025, the No Tax on Overtime Act, would exempt only overtime compensation that's subject to the Fair Labor Standards Act, the FLSA. Eligibility requirements from the federal income tax. So again, this is a federal income tax. FLSA eligible overtime compensation is pay derived from work performed by an individual beyond 40 hours in a work week. This overtime pay must be at least 150% of the worker's regular rate of pay. Under these bills, overtime compensation would still be subject to other taxes, such as payroll taxes. So you're still paying payroll taxes, just to be clear, which is a flat rate, right? This is about federal income tax. How many workers would be directly affected? Under static conditions, any kind of no tax on overtime policy would only directly affect, sorry, this is a little hard, but it would be on average about 97.7 million workers who were eligible for overtime protections under FLSA in 2023. 82.1 million of whom were paid by the hour, and this is where it gets weird, and 15.5 million of whom were salaried. While about 93% of hourly workers were eligible for overtime protections, only about 29% of salaried workers were eligible. So, as current FLSA overtime protections apply, only salaried workers who earn less than $684 a week. So what I'm saying is, if you make a lot of salary, it's not going to apply to you anyway. So this is pretty much for hourly workers. Although these workers qualify for FLSA overtime protections, most eligible workers work fewer than 40 hours per work week and would thus not normally be affected by this policy under static conditions. About 8% of and that means when they say static, they mean that if nothing changes, but things will change, right? Because people want to take advantage of this stuff. And that's what we're getting to. But this is just, let's say human behavior doesn't change and people aren't going to say, well, now I want to restructure how I work to take advantage of this tax loophole, right? But if nothing changed, about 8% of eligible hourly workers and 4% of eligible salaried workers usually work overtime, while 4% of hourly workers and 1% of eligible salary workers occasionally work overtime hours. All told, if human behavior didn't change, 13.14 million workers would be directly affected by a no tax on overtime policy. That's it. 13.14 million workers. This is literally just people believing they're getting something they're not getting, which I love. How much money will workers save? According to the Yale Budget Lab, these eligible workers would earn a collective total of $335 billion in overtime compensation in 2025. Again, if human behavior doesn't change and people don't try to exploit this loophole. Under its model, the affected workers would save roughly $48 billion in taxes in 2025 and about $866 billion over the course of 10 years. Okay, I want to let me just policy effects. Increase in overtime, take-home pay, decrease in, and this is the messed up part though, because it's not just going to happen like that, right? What actually will happen is there will be an increase in overtime take-home and a decrease in regular wages. So, meaning people are going to make less money. Under static economic conditions, exempting overtime pay from income taxation would only affect eligible workers who clock in more than 40 hours per work week, right? Which is what we just went over. When economic behavior, meaning people are going to exploit this, they're going to restructure how they work to take advantage of this. So when economic behavior is factored in, however, the dynamic effects of a no tax on overtime policy come to light, and regular hour workers would be negatively affected by a tax exemption on overtime. So what this means is actually people are going to make less on average. As tax burdens are lifted from overtime compensation, net compensation for overtime hours increases. When net compensation for overtime hours increases, more workers are incentivized to enter positions and work hours that are eligible to receive that net compensation, right? To receive the deduction. As more workers then move to those affected markets, average wages decrease As competition increases in those markets to get the overtime benefit, the average wages will decrease. It's human behavior. It's not, people exploit tax loopholes. So you'll actually, in your regular hours, be making less. This decrease in average wages negatively affects workers who, for whatever reason, do not regularly work overtime hours. Not only would these workers not benefit from the tax exemption, but they would also receive lower wages for the same amount of work, resulting in a decrease in take-home pay. Congratulations, we're all going to be making, it's another way to just hurt people who are trying to work. You're actually going to make less. I can't. Meanwhile, the workers who regularly work overtime would likely still be able to increase their net compensation due to the tax deduction. Consequently, a no tax on overtime policy simultaneously will increase net compensation for some, right, about 13 million people, while decreasing net compensation for others, bifurcating workers. That means splitting into two. That's big word, MAGA, bifurcating, splitting into two categories, winners and losers. Isn't that always how it goes? The winners of a tax exemption on overtime compensation would be unsurprisingly, now here's where it gets really effed up. It gets even better, MAGA, because here's where it's not you. You're not a winner. I love informing MAGA how math works. The winners. Now, who are these group of people who are going to work? More specifically, they would be the workers who earn enough untaxed overtime compensation to offset any wage reductions this tax exemption may cause. Furthermore, workers who regularly work overtime are more likely to already possess certain characteristics that predispose them to what? Higher earning potential, as overtime workers are more likely to be male, middle age, have higher levels of education, you're out, MAGA, and are more skilled than their regular hour counterparts. That's too bad, MAGA. Evidence from France's law, and this is a case study because France did this. They from 2000, which this is actually a fascinating study, which there's a link to for anyone who likes to do a deeper dive. From 2007 to 2012, France did something similar with no tax on overtime, which it supports the notion that winners of such a policy would be those workers who are already more skilled and have a greater degree of autonomy over the organization of their work. According to one study, the law had no significant effect on the number of hours worked, but did result in a rise in the number of overtime hours declared by highly skilled employees, such as managers, technicians, and intellectual artists. These workers, according to the authors, have opportunities to manipulate the overtime hours they declare in order to optimize their tax situation, since the hours they work are difficult to verify. So if you're thinking you're just the average person who's clocking in and this is in any way is going to help you, mathematically it's not. It is going to lower your regular wages, and they're basically saying, unless you're in a highly skilled, highly valuable position where you're allowed to manipulate your own work hours to benefit you in this tax policy, you're not going to benefit. Sorry, MAGA, that's not you, unfortunately. I mean, your average education level knocks you out right there, but MAGA will never read this much, so hopefully some of you are listening, and then you can just try to repeat it to each other and get this correct. As seen in the graph below, the authors estimate that these skilled French workers were able to increase the amount of overtime hours declared by 0.7 hours per week, while the total number of hours they declared decreased by about 0.5 hours per week. So overtime hours worked, this just becomes people who can manipulate the hours worked to benefit from a tax loophole. It's not going to benefit the average person who can't do something like that. The losers. Now, who are the losers? This is you, MAGA. The losers from a tax exemption on overtime hours policy would be those workers who normally do not work overtime, as they would gain no benefit from the tax exemption and receive lower average wages due to the labor supply increase, which I know it's what we're saying is more competition is going to enter these markets where these overtime jobs is available. And when there's more competition, it lowers the average wages. So you're going to make less in your regular 40-hour work week. These workers are more likely to be female. Great. Not middle-aged, less educated. That's you, MAGA, and less skilled. In other words, the workers who would be hurt the most from this policy are those who are less able to work more than 40 hours per week, like, people with children and things of that nature, or have other responsibilities, such as family obligations, that prevent them from working overtime. Furthermore, evidence from the French law and the case study from that demonstrates that less skilled, less autonomous, meaning, your boss is looking over your shoulder, monitoring you. You guys you wanted to end remote work and all that so your boss can stare over your shoulder. That's you, MAGA. Would likely not see a significant increase in overtime hours. As shown in the graph below, less skilled workers do not have any significant increase in the amount of overtime worked after the law's implementation, with an increase of only about 0.16 overtime hours per week. So again, MAGA, not you. This is not anything good for you. And I just want to point out again, the first article we started with proved that. That's what we went over the first time, was that none of you were going to benefit. You're still paying more on average because of the tariffs. I find it infinitely hilarious that you are being robbed and work on top of your jobs to try to survive in this recession-prone economy. Then you go to your second full-time job of defending the man who's robbing you to enrich himself. You guys, your personal choices never cease to amaze me. Doug, thank you for the $20. Yeehaw! Thank you for the hat. Thank you for the $20 on Venmo, Doug, just because I love all the education. That makes me feel so good. I'm so glad I did this live today. Terry, thank you for the $2. Can you tell my kids what a great job they've done voting for him? Thank you. Exactly. Yeah, you're probably not middle-aged children who are unskilled workers who will benefit not at all from this. I know. And I used to think I didn't understand basic economics, and then I met MAGA. I was got a C in microeconomics, and I'm terrible at this. And now I know I'm an economic genius. Again, if anyone, I'll send these articles. I'll put these articles, the no tax on tips article that we went through and the no tax on overtime, just in case anyone wants to forward it to their family members who need to, learn basic math or facts. I don't know. I mean, you're probably going to have to explain it to them. They're probably not going to get it, but you never know. Today could be the day. Okay, here's the no tax on overtime one. I'll send all these to you. Actually, I'm going to start because, I almost knocked something over. I'm trying to remember. There's this great site called More Perfect. I've showed you guys. It's not just on, actually, when we were going over how the left has increased YouTube subscribers and are gaining ground, More Perfect Union actually has gained millions of subscribers on YouTube. I want to just show an example because this is of just how, we've talked about how Trump's robbing us, billionaires are robbing us. I want to talk about how corporations are robbing us. And More Perfect Union made this awesome, I guess you could call it a case study about Walmart. And I've talked about Walmart a lot, how instead of paying a livable wage, Walmart encourages their workers to get on SNAP, right? To get on government assistance, which is essentially, instead of Walmart paying livable wages, they use government assistance and encourage their employees to get on it so they can make larger profits and hand them to their shareholders. So I thought I watched this morning. I was like, this is amazing. This was put out 3 days ago. Again, you don't have to be on X to follow More Perfect Union. They're on YouTube. They're on Blue Sky, anywhere you want. They're on TikTok. So again, I'm not saying spend time on X. Never saying that.
Men in the world. We're all talking about the richest men in the world, but what about the richest family? That would be the Waltons, the heirs to the Walmart fortune, whose collective $432 billion net worth was built by relying on our tax dollars to subsidize Walmart's low wages, and who stand to get even richer if Republicans extend Trump's tax cuts. The press likes to talk about the Waltons' generous philanthropy and modest lifestyles. Personally, I wouldn't call owning a super yacht bought from the Qatari royal family that holds the record for the largest amount of marble and stone ever installed in a yacht modest. More galling is that these luxury assets were partly paid for by us, because when Walmart stiffs workers, we foot the bill. As something of a philanthropist myself, I find it very fulfilling to pay for Rob Walton to crash a car that's worth $15 million. Where's my gala? Walmart is the biggest private employer in the U.S., with 1.5 million employees nationwide, including workers at Walmart's subsidiary Sam's Club. It's become the largest grocer in the United States and the world. The key to Walmart's expansion has always been low wages.
Make almost $17 billion net profit and can't give a worker a 40-cent raise.
As a result of chronically low wages, Walmart tops the list of companies whose workers turn to public assistance. Because Walmart is such a huge employer, this puts a massive dent in public budgets, an estimated $6.2 billion per year that could go to other necessary public services. Through government assistance, taxpayers collectively pay $5,000 per Walmart employee each year. Walmart.
Everyone sit with that information. This is why we need to incentivize corporations to pay a living wage. This is why we have to have Congress pass laws about what a federal minimum wage needs to look like so people can live. $5,000 a year are tax per Walmart employee. What did they say? 1.5 million employees? Like, is anyone doing the math on this? This is what our tax dollars are paying. So the Waltons can deliver more profits and enrich themselves and vote for Donald Trump. This cycle is ridiculous.
Spends several $1 million on lobbying.
I just want to hear that again so I can be sick.
Because Walmart is such a huge employer, this puts a massive dent in public budgets, an estimated $6.2 billion per year that could go to other necessary public services. Through government assistance, taxpayers collectively pay $5,000 per Walmart employee each year. Walmart spends several $1 million on lobbying every year to maintain the status quo, and this year's tax fight is another huge opportunity. After the last Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was signed by Trump in 2017, Walmart's effective tax rate was cut nearly in half to 17%, saving the company almost $9 billion. The tax savings were then largely funneled into billions of dollars in stock buybacks. Meanwhile, if the Trump tax cuts are extended, families like the Waltons in the top 1% will get a tax break of $1.24 trillion. As a result, they get to buy professional sports teams while their workers are struggling to buy groceries. The solution to this problem is not to cut public assistance to workers who need it, which, by the way, is how Republicans are proposing to pay for these latest tax cuts. The solution is to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, making it impossible for employers like the Walton family to skimp on labor costs and pocket the remainder. And Walmart workers need to have a say in how the company is run. The company is a legendary union buster.
Walmart is very opposed to unions, one of the most if not the most aggressively anti-union company in the history of the United States. Just relentless in their search for union activity and try to squelch it, kill it.
At the first sign of organizing, Walmart dispatches rapid response task forces called SWAT teams from headquarters to stores to monitor workers, coach management, and counter union efforts. They engage in really intense worker surveillance, like collaborating with Lockheed Martin to collect military-level intel, sending undercover spies wearing wires hidden by long hair to record worker organizing meetings, encouraging workers to snitch on each other by calling anti-union hotlines, normal stuff. which, by the way, costs a fortune, but is cheaper than paying union wages. Without any formal challenge from workers, Walmart can get away scot-free with flagrantly corrupt corporate policies, like authorizing $20 billion in stock buybacks to boost its own stock price and enrich shareholders, including the Walton family.
That's an example of how it doesn't trickle down, MAGA. That's what you're hearing. Those were the tax cuts that you said were going to trickle down to us or result in wage increases. They in fact don't. They just do stock buybacks and then further enrich themselves. Is this making any sense? While our federal tax dollars, $5,000 a year per Walmart employee, and then I have to hear people be like, "Yeah, get a job." Like, they have jobs? They're still on SNAP.
And we're paying for it. So when you see headlines like these about the Waltons giving 5% of a single day's worth of their earnings to charity, remember, the big benefactor here is you.
That's like Trump saying, I gave my $200,000 salary to, or whatever it is, I didn't take it, while I'm enriching myself to the tune of billions of dollars and accepting bribes. It's delusional. Like, you can do it. I know, MAGA. At some point, you're going to get tired of being robbed and you're going to realize, sorry, this is my outline. You're going to realize, oh, wait, I'm not being in fact robbed by brown people or by gay people or by trans people. Yeah, I have confidence that one day you will correctly identify who is robbing you. And I know you really wish it was brown people. It's not. Because again, Walmart's employing American citizens and again, I do think undocumented immigrants are being also exploited for cheap labor. But that's why we need labor laws. That's why we need minimum wage that everyone needs to be paid. That's why we need to pass laws so nobody is being exploited, right? So there is less incentive to come here as an undocumented worker because people aren't being exploited. But that's not what we're doing right now. And we're just spending more pointless money biting off our nose to spite our face. You're doing nothing by doing these mass deportations. You're making it harder for you to retire. You're making it more likely we will go into a recession. And you know what happens in recessions? Let me help you. You might be noticing a cycle here. If you're noticing a pattern, you're right. Transfers of wealth to the top of the economy. We default on our mortgages. We foreclose on homes. We lose all our assets. We default on auto loans. And all of that wealth then is transferred up to the top of the economy. They want recessions. The rich benefit from recessions. We lose. But that's when the largest transfers of wealth happen. They don't fear recessions. They're like, oh, it's a clearance. I could snap up all these middle and lower class people's assets. It's a fire sale. The rich love a recession. Buy low, sell high. I want to show one other because I think, well, actually, I have two, but then I have to find it on I didn't have time because it was 10 minutes long. I just highly recommend, again, I don't know if it's More Perfect US across, but this is the account. Again, you can follow it on YouTube, Blue Sky. This account is amazing. And like I said, they're gaining millions and millions of subscribers. Like when you were looking at, I was looking at the left versus right and in the Q1 and how the left has gained ground. This is one of the accounts that got the most followers. Highly recommend. It's less about, because it is true that race and gender, maybe we're on the lower end of of being robbed. But what's important to understand, MAGA, is to follow these types of accounts because it doesn't matter if you're a white male. And I know you're tired of hearing like, well, you sit in privilege. That might be true. And maybe that you have a higher earning potential by nature of being a white male, but you're still being robbed. And that's the truth. And that's why you need to just follow More Perfect Union. Don't tell your MAGA friends, but just look at some of the numbers that they're telling you. That's what you need to understand. I know I think a lot of MAGA men are like, stop saying I'm privileged, I'm so poor. You are poor. I do agree. We're all being robbed together. And the point is, you're not being robbed by brown people or by gay people or by trans people. We're all being robbed by billionaires. And these are some interesting numbers. And then I'm going to play this clip because it's the 1% account for about 30% Clock this. Why do you think the rich wanted to abolish the IRS? The 1% account for 30% of all unpaid taxes. Tax evasion by the ultra-rich costs the U.S. about $150 billion a year. Do you think abolishing the IRS is going to help that? And I talked about this. One of the biggest boons that billionaires lobbied conservatives to get done was to convince you, MAGA, again, create a boogeyman that wasn't real and say, Biden's increasing the size of the IRS to go after single mothers. No, our tax, what a forensic accountant makes in an hour, we don't owe in a year of taxes. Accountants aren't doing ours at the IRS, aren't auditing us. That's done automatically, right? By computer programs. What an accountant makes in an hour, we're not even worth. Forensic accountants are doing high-level audits of the 1% who are doing things like basis shifting and other very complicated audits, which very expensive accountants, this is how much money they owe. So they do hire teams of forensic accountants to audit very rich people to collect the taxes they're evading. And they convinced you that it makes sense to hire forensic accountants that make $700 an hour to go after a mom who makes $40,000 in a year. Your brain must be smarter than that. You are helping rich people evade taxes. And again, evade taxes that now we're paying with tariffs at the cash register. That's what the tariffs are. It's so rich people don't have to pay taxes. We pay our federal taxes, our state taxes, and regressive tariff taxes on top of that. But Elon Musk and Donald Trump fired the workers who audit the rich, and now ordinary workers and taxpayers are left to shoulder the costs.
Elon Musk just made it way easier for his billionaire friends to dodge their taxes. And ordinary workers like you and me are going to be left holding the bag.
If you're going to play by the rules, you are shouldering the burden of our tax system.
Doge is currently gutting the IRS and plans to ultimately lose 40% of its workforce. And unless you have tens of millions of dollars, this is not as exciting as you think. That's because the IRS agents that are losing their jobs in droves are actually the ones trained to go after rich tax dodgers in particular.
Because no one's been looking, they've been cheating more.
It's a huge conflict of interest when you're saying these agencies are attacking me and then you're going in and taking a chainsaw to them, right?
At the same time, Doge is axing parts of the IRS that help working class people the most.
Now you have an IRS that is unable to be there to answer the call when taxpayers need help.
The Trump administration and Doge may try to pander to the working class with vague promises to abolish income tax,
no tax,
or to cut one of the government's most hated agencies. But make no mistake, the changes to the IRS are going to shortchange regular working people so that billionaires can stretch the wealth gap to new extremes.
The wealthiest people and the largest corporations pay a lot to highly trained accountants and attorneys who are very good at constructing highly complex corporate structures.
Spencer Woodman is a reporter at the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists who's been covering financial misconduct by the ultra-wealthy since 2017.
A big kind of part of the way that the wealthiest people dodge taxes is that they will find the most arcane and complex corners of tax law to exploit. I mean, that's attractive partially because they know that they will have to have someone in the IRS with a level of expertise that matches their highly paid tax accountants. And historically, that just hasn't been the case. Something like 30% of all taxes unpaid are traced back to the top 1% of income.
Tax evasion by the rich costs the government over $150 billion a year. That number comes from this guy, Danny Werfel, the IRS's former commissioner. He knows a thing or two about how well-paid accountants shield money from the American government.
I think a good one, it's a fancy term, transfer pricing.
Transfer pricing is a common way for rich tax dodgers to lie about where they earn their money, for instance, which country, in order to pay the lowest amount of taxes possible. But the IRS has a division that is supposed to make sure that, like all of us, the rich pay their fair share.
The IRS's Large Business and International Division is the U.S. tax agency's office that polices the largest corporations and the wealthiest individuals.
And that was a unit that was significantly depleted over the years of budget cuts that took place in the 2010s. And as a result, we saw record low audit rates for large partnerships and large corporations.
President Biden tried to fix those audit rates with the Inflation Reduction Act, which invested $80 billion into the IRS, partly to make sure they could go toe-to-toe with the army of accountants employed by the ultra-rich.
The Inflation Reduction Act and the new funding that it provided, that meant hiring more people. That meant
MAGA, you thought that we were going to waste money hiring all these forensic accountants to go after single mothers because you guys are geniuses. And we would have hired people making $700 an hour and made no return on investment. But we know, and when we talk about ROI, like for instance, this is why it's asinine when MAGA says, why are we investing in medical research on bat semen? Well, because for every dollar we invest in medical research, we get $2.56 fueled into our economy. That's called a positive ROI, return on investment. And I think the average is for every dollar we invest in the IRS, right, we get 6 back, but it's a progressive ROI, right? When you get to the 0.1%, I believe the last time I showed a chart of this, for every dollar we invest to audit the 0.1%, the richest of the rich, we get $16 back because that's where they're evading taxes. Just saying, this is where our money is, MAGA.
And hiring more expertise, and that meant investing in more forensics.
The guy with the Malibu, I will put this, if you're in the Discord, I'll find this video right now and I'll send it to everyone in the Discord. And then again, it's at More Perfect US, or the account is called More Perfect Union, which I suggest. They've gained millions of subscribers. You don't have to be on X to follow them. You can follow them on TikTok, on YouTube, anywhere. They have amazing videos like this. I love this account. Outside of Robert Reich, this is like doing the math and showing the average middle-class American how we're being robbed. They're doing an amazing job. But I'll put this video, I'll send it to everyone in the Discord right now as well.
Data science, we were seeing billions of dollars in returns that we otherwise wouldn't have had if we did not make these investments and these improvements.
That all changed with Doge and a wave of probationary employee firings, court reversals, voluntary buyouts, and workforce reduction plans.
The numbers I was able to get from the IRS through a Freedom of Information Act request shows the unit that audits billionaires lost 38% of its employees between February and March of this year. In some cases, these were like incredibly specialized experts, people who understood the ways that petroleum companies use chemicals so that they could, for instance, evaluate the write-offs that they were taking.
You need subject matter experts who understand those industries, how things are valued, how things are depreciated. You need data scientists to better detect forensically whether income is being inappropriately shielded.
Agents I have spoken with there describe that office, at least their teams, as being in a state of near paralysis as kind of management grapples with how to move forward with such a large headcount reduction. Cases on billionaires and other ultra-wealthy individuals are halted or in the process of being closed.
Paring it back creates an incentive for those that were inclined to not play by the rules to get even more aggressive.
That the company is now a convicted felon because of a 13-year scheme to evade taxes.
That means they're shifting the burden of who's funding our government from them to those that are playing by the rules. And that's unfair.
It's worth stating this does not make fiscal sense either.
IRS agents who audit the wealthiest individuals kind of give the government the best bang for its buck. They're in some cases making millions or tens of millions of dollars in adjustments, in tax adjustments per year.
One estimate said that for every dollar cut from IRS enforcement, it'll cost taxpayers $5 to $7 in revenue. And while DOJ's IRS cuts are encouraging billionaires to cheat their way out of billions in taxes, they're also making it harder for working class people to simply navigate the system. More than 20% of the Taxpayer Advocate Service is expected to go, and cuts are already affecting customer service functions.
Often you don't have any questions, which is great.
Like I've had my accountant filed a tax extension for me because I have like executive function paralysis that I need to fill out a spreadsheet. Again, I don't even owe money. I don't make money. I don't make enough money to owe money to the U.S. government. But like, I mean, I would like for some of us, like poor people, I wish someone would just tell me how much money I owe so I could then just pay it and not have to like do all these confusing things. Like, and that's what they're saying that for like, there used to be systems that were funded by the IRS. If you were low income, like they would do your taxes for free. AOC used to always direct people to these features, and Trump is cutting those. Like, you know, free tax, like, or information, like, I mean, if you think about it, because this is one of my pet peeves about capitalism, no offense, accountants, like, I love it. You guys are great. I love my accountant. She's great. But like, what is tax season? It's just another capitalistic industry. The government knows how much and I'm not talking about very wealthy people, right? Who have an army of accountants and tax lawyers who are helping them hide assets. Those people do need to be audited. I'm not talking about those people, but the average ones of us, like who aren't up to something shady, why do we need to pay accountants $500 to do our taxes when the government essentially knows through a computer program how much we owe? It's just another capitalistic industry, not unlike insurance and other unnecessary things that drive me effing crazy. It's like, can somebody just tell? It should be like, there should be a site and just like, this is how much you owe. And then if you think it's Ordona or, you know, whatever. And then if you think it's wrong, maybe there's like a process to then dispute it, right? And then you engage like an accountant to help you like dispute it. Or then you need to pay for TurboTax or something. It's like, why the can you just give us a starting out point of this is what we think you owe, and then if you need to dispute it, you can. I know that's way too logical, but also it's not capitalistic enough. No, let's leave everyone in the dark, confuse them about what the tax laws are. Poor people who already don't have the money to have their taxes done every year, and let's just make the process harder and create a whole unnecessary capitalistic industry around this. Yay! It drives me crazy. Especially for people with ADHD, you know what I'm talking about. This is like, I do my taxes on average like June of every year. Literally, because I owe like paralysis around it.
But sometimes a question might come up. It might come up.
Again, I don't even owe money. It's like the government could just be like, yeah, you don't owe money. That would be nice. But no, I've got to spend all this time and like figuring it out.
With respect to a mistake that was made on a W-2. It could come up, unfortunately, that someone steals your identity and has filed a tax return in your name before you filed one.
Scam artists are getting your social security number and address and then stealing your tax refund.
If you can't get through to the IRS, or there's not a trained staff person who can resolve, then you're going to leave the situation still stressed, still feeling the burden.
Reports say the IRS will also kill the free direct file program that allows taxpayers to file their taxes directly with the IRS, a program that threatened TurboTax's bottom line.
We had tremendous momentum in terms of increasing access and being available to help taxpayers. The issue now is, will that momentum be built on, or will it slide backwards?
Meaning, lobbyists, right? TurboTax, other huge H&R Block is lobbying the U.S. government and people like Donald Trump bribing them to essentially vote against these types or defund these programs that allow people to file their taxes for free. That program they're just talking about. And again, I didn't remember that most of that stuff I was talking about in the beginning was in here. I forgot because AOC is always AOC will post that over and over and over before tax season. Like most everyone can get their taxes filed for free. Like use this link, right? And now Trump is seeing to it that the few methods we had or outlets we had to get help from the government to file taxes for free and oftentimes you don't owe anything, but you can't even do it. Because capitalism, you've got to be robbed. Even though you don't owe any money to the government, you simply must be robbed in the process of declaring that. Makes perfect sense. Meanwhile, the rich are actually evading taxes and just getting richer. It's sickening to think about it. I know, we are. Someone just wrote that in the comments. I agree. It's like when you think about, we're just being nickeled and dimed. That's what regressive tax systems are. That's what capitalism is. It punishes the middle and lower classes while just the top just collects revenue.
The National Treasury Employees Union, which represents IRS workers, has been fighting Doge every step of the way. They've sued over the mass firing of probationary employees and the administration's attempt to strip federal workers of bargaining rights.
I thought corporate America was like this, not the government.
While these issues make their way through the court system, it's unclear if the union will prevail.
For most people in America, they're not running global corporations. They don't have the ability to shield income in favorable international tax jurisdictions. And therefore, the IRS needs to be equal to the task to detect when this type of behavior is occurring, to root it out and correct it. And again, an IRS that can't keep up with that means that the tax system becomes increasingly unfair.
Let me show you if you're looking for this post. This is a screenshot from X, but again, you can follow them on TikTok or on Blue Sky or on YouTube. But this is what that post looks like. And I sent it to everyone in the Discord. I added everyone, or it's in the general chat if you're just joining. Again, whether you're on Twitch, on YouTube, wherever, if you're in my link tree, you can join the Discord in my link tree. Just copy and paste the link. Don't click on the link because for some reason it seems like you have to copy and paste the link into the browser and that will work. Hold on, I'm just refreshing, making sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, that was 6 days ago. Oh my gosh, Maxwell, if 6 days ago I missed your super chat that said Happy Tuesday, I'm so sorry. I've been having trouble. I just noticed that, and I don't think I said anything about it. Okay. So again, this is what the post looks like on X, or will look like on Blue Sky. It has this picture of Elmo with a chainsaw, and I loved that post. There's another really good one if you guys want to hear one more that I loved. I think you may know he's a lawyer. His name's Brian Tyler Cohen. He did, I think he basically partnered. I don't know exactly how it worked, but I think he partnered with More Perfect Union to sort of do like, I don't even know what you call it, like a nonprofit, like investigative piece. And it's really good. I just have to find it directly on X because I tried to record it and then for some reason it was like, did not record. But it's really good. It's about, because you guys know, I've done so many deep dives about how Doge has not done a GD thing and saved us no money. And it's all very shady and weird. Well, More Perfect Union basically like worked with Brian Tyler Cohen and he did this amazing piece on it. And I just think it really I almost said it. I don't know. I don't want to discredit Rachel Maddow, but the way Rachel Maddow puts things together in patterns and like makes everything like so easily digestible. This is a really good video. It's like, it really just makes it real easy to understand. I really like Brian Tyler Cohen, especially like for, legal type stuff. I love the show he does. Oh my God. Now I can't remember the guy's name. The guy that used to work for like the DOJ. The lawyer, the DOJ. Oh, I can't remember. Does anyone know who I'm talking about? What is that guy's name? And he does a legal show with Brian Tyler Cohen. You guys know everything. He's a former DOJ lawyer. Glenn Kirshner. Got it. I remembered on my own. That's my favorite Brian Tyler Cohen show. If you don't know, this is Brian Tyler Cohen. And I can. Oh, cool. So you can see he did a partnership with More Perfect Union for this. Again, I'm directly on X right now. And this is, I had never seen, Glenn Kirshner. Thank you, Kirshner. It's KR. And if no one knows the show I'm talking about, this guy and Glenn Kirshner, if you're looking for outside, I love Mark Elias and Democracy Docket, and then Glenn Kirshner, and what is it called? It's called the legal, oh my God, I can't remember. But they do a great show if you're ever looking to understand what's going on in the judicial system. It's amazing. Okay. Oh, and you know what I was thinking? I was like, God, what's different about Brian Tyler Cohen? If you've never watched any of his videos, he's sponsored by menswear companies, so he's usually suited and booted. This is actually, I was just something is different about him. I don't think I've ever seen him in a sweatshirt in my life. He wears suits almost religiously. I actually like him in a sweatshirt. He should. I don't know how he's wearing suits every single day. Okay. Yeah, I know. Everyone's try to write Kirshner and there's 18 misspellings. I know. We all go. So one person got it right. Someone wrote Kirshner correctly. Everyone's Kushner, Kershey. One person spelled Kirshner right. If that was a spelling test, autocorrect made all of us fail. I know. I love Brian. If you're not following Brian Tyler Cohen, 10 of 10 recommend. But this is one of my favorite videos of all time. Again, I hate when they do this. Let me see if I can. Is
Elon Musk's time in government actually coming to an end? Or is that just what Musk and the Republican Party...
Let's do an intro. So, and I've talked about this a lot, how it's actually illegal for Elon Musk to stay in government. If you're contracted to kind of commissioned to run do a study, you can stay for a certain amount of days, but unless you're going to be legally vetted, right? You can be temporary, you can be appointed to do something, you can be affiliated with the government, but eventually you need to be vetted, you need to be put under oath by Congress and confirmed. And so Elon Musk needs to get out, but the question is he getting out?
Want you to think. Trump has been actively distancing himself from Musk in recent weeks.
He wants to get back home to his cars.
This is Elon speaking on Tesla's Q1 2025 earnings call.
I think starting probably in next month, in May, my time allocation to Doge will drop significantly.
But then, just a few days ago, Musk was an invited guest at the Saudi-US investment forum that accompanied the president's trip to the Middle East. So, is Musk stepping back, or isn't he?
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy.
Should I stay or should I go? And whenever Musk does actually leave government, will he have accomplished what he set out to do? I worked with More Perfect Union to break down what's actually going on. We found that despite all of the rhetoric about leaving the government behind, Elon's influence over the future of the Trump administration goes deeper than you think. And his work at Doge continues to benefit his companies while further transferring wealth and power from the working class to the ultra-wealthy. So why does the White House want you to think that they're parting ways with the world's richest man? Let's go back to the beginning.
Take over, Elon. Yes, take over.
It all started with one big investment. Elon donated $288 million total to the Trump campaign. He also formed America PAC, where he paid voters to sign petitions.
I'm not just MAGA. I'm dark, gothic MAGA.
It all worked. Trump won and took his new friend Elon with him to DC and created a very special position for a very special boy. He's literally called a special government employee, which required no confirmation hearing. Elon became the figurehead for the Department of Government Efficiency.
You know, they say I work.
Special job for a very special boy. That's hilarious. That's exactly what it is. I love this video.
A lot of hats. And as you can see, it's true.
The billionaire originally promised to cut $2 trillion from the federal government before Trump's inauguration, but cut that number to $1 trillion after the administration took office. Musk and his Doge goons immediately started hacking away at the federal government, pretending it was all a crusade against fraud and waste.
Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
But But all of their claims about these programs have been disproven. Remember, Social Security is your money that you've already paid into the system. By making it difficult for you to access Social Security, they are keeping your money from you. And then there's the attempted destruction of agencies that protect you from big banks and bad bosses. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the watchdog to make sure banks don't steal your money, and the National Labor Relations Board, which protects workers' rights.
I need to say this also so I don't get copyright violations. I need to regularly interject and say words. But more importantly, just to be clear, what he's saying is the only people, MAGA, this is for you. I mean, most of us know this, but MAGA, in case any of you are listening, some of you just requested to come up here and yell at me. So I know some of you are here. Think. Why, if we're cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, and this was about saving American consumers' money, why would you cut the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau? Their only role is to stop corporations, particularly banks, from ripping us off. Why? Why, when we were supposed to limit overdraft fees to $5, would you change the law in Congress to stop that from happening? If this was about America first and saving the average American money, none of this makes sense. Why would there be one of the largest exfiltrations of data of all time that a whistleblower has to point out? Why would you steal all the data from the National Labor Relations Board? Their only job is to protect whistleblowers who are talking about labor disputes with huge corporations. Why would Elon Musk steal all that data? Why would he want to know anybody who's ever brought up a labor dispute with a corporation? Use your brains. I know you can do it. You could get there.
Elon stated he wanted to completely annihilate the CFPB, which so far hasn't happened, but he did send in one of his little helpers to gut the bureau, and that little helper, of course, was heavily invested in the companies CFPB regulates. Both agencies regulate companies Musk owns, from Tesla auto loans and a potential X.com payment system to the many, many labor issues at Tesla. And then there's the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Doge has also slashed up to 10% of their staff, cutting 70 to 80 jobs of those responsible for overseeing self-driving tech. That means that the agency regulating Tesla is losing critical watchdogs just as somebody's robo-taxi ambitions ramp up. Man, Elon loves a layoff. Last week, The Hill reported that Elon and Doge are responsible for half of all layoffs that have occurred in 2025 across industries. Even Doge's first target, USAID, had just announced inspections of Elon's Starlink terminals in Ukraine. And Elon fired all of the FDA inspectors who'd have overseen Neuralink, getting Elon one step closer to putting a chip in your brain. Though this recap of Doge sounds disastrous, and though it has surely been corrupt, not all of these things stuck. Many are being found unconstitutional in court. Remember checks and balances? Anyway, they all serve to take from you and give to Elon and his friends. Cronies, rather. A congressional report from the end of April revealed Elon and his companies faced at least $2.37 billion in potential federal fines and more than 60 regulatory actions themselves at the time of Trump's inauguration. Looking back now, it seems like his jurisdiction over government hiring came at quite a convenient time. But it seems like easing the regulatory pressures on his private companies wasn't enough for Elon. He also made a habit of using his position to secure new streams of revenue. As Doge chief, Musk oversaw federal spending while SpaceX held $15.16 billion in NASA contracts. Starlink is being reconsidered for major rural broadband projects the Biden administration pulled Starlink away from, and the FAA has magically decided to reconsider its $2.4 billion satellite contract with Verizon. They now want to replace Verizon's air traffic control internet with Starlink. As of March, Customs and Border Patrol is now using Starlink, and in April, SpaceX secured $5.92 billion of a $13.7 billion military satellite contract. The Air Force is also building Pacific landing pads exclusively for SpaceX's reusable rockets. The Federal Railroad Administration is also in talks with Musk's Boring Company to potentially help build Amtrak's costly Frederick Douglass Tunnel project between Baltimore and Washington, D.C. Wow. Looks like the federal government is beginning to revolve around Elon Musk. Elon's friends' firms like Peter Thiel's Palantir and Anduril are cashing in too. Palantir is embedded with Doge and the IRS to build a mega API to centralize access to all IRS data. That's your financial information. They've also been hired to build immigration surveillance technology, and all of that data could be merged into a central government operating system. Elon's influence will persist after he moves away from day-to-day government work. He embedded the federal government with his cronies who worked for him in the private sector. One of his longtime confidants joined Doge to oversee Social Security fraud detection. Former Neuralink, X, Tesla, and Boring Company staffers are embedded throughout federal IT and other systems. These staffers will long outlive Elon's 130 days. But who cares, right? I mean, if you don't think about it, we're actually very lucky to have someone like Elon. There are not many people who would generously volunteer to personally audit all of our private information and finances in the first couple weeks upon taking a new job. Who knows how that data will be used? Some commenters suggest that Elon could harness competitor data in enriching his own companies and wrongfully use labor data that bosses aren't meant to access to further crack down on the workers at his own companies. So as we were all
Palantir is Peter Thiel. Yeah, Palantir is one of the scariest companies. There's like a 60-minute anyways. I wanted to just, because I don't want to keep playing this and get a copyright violation for a second. I just want to also bring up, when I didn't do a live last Friday, one of the scariest articles that I've seen lately, this is a Washington Post exclusive, just along the lines of what he's talking about. U.S. pushes nations facing tariffs to approve Musk's Starlink. And this is an example of Lesotho, right, which is a tiny African country who basically the Trump administration has been bullying and saying, hey, if you want to make a deal about tariffs, then you need to use Elon Musk's Starlink. And this is, again, a Washington Post exclusive. I'll see if I can turn it into a gift article and put it in the Discord. I'm pretty sure I can. I don't see the button. I'll figure it out. Oh, yeah, here it is, gift. So I'll share this. But again, this is a Washington Post exclusive. Basically, and you can listen to it as well. But some countries have turned to the satellite internet firm in conjunction with trade talks, State Department staffers wrote. The U.S. has a strategic interest in countering Chinese internet providers, but Musk's role complicates the picture. We know that Musk applied, right, when we were going to bring internet to rural areas in the Inflation Reduction Act, and all of this was analyzed, right? They applied for the government contract and lost it because Starlink service is not great, right? The best thing we can do is lay fiber optic cable. Right. That's how we get high speed internet. I could go there's documented studies on Starlink and how it falls short. It's one thing if we're talking about a war zone where moving satellites over it is kind of the only option. But if we're talking about what's the most reliable high speed internet that we could bring to rural areas in America, that's why they lost the government contract. But now, because of what Elon Musk has done, we're bullying countries to use Starlink.
Distracted with the little things like freezing Medicaid spending for a day and pausing Meals on Wheels, Elon was likely performing one of his greatest data heists of all time. This hasn't just been an assault on our institutions, it is a war on all of us. Reporter Judd Legum has dedicated the last 6 months to researching Musk's involvement in the government.
He came in promising to cut $2 trillion from.
To be clear, this is the guy that runs Doge.muskwatch.com, Judd Legum, the guy I'm always talking about, the independent reporter who has all those computer scientists auditing Elon Musk's lies on the Doge rollover receipts. This is him. If you follow anyone on Substack, it's like Popular Information, Judd Legum, Legum. He is amazing.
The annual federal budget deficit. Even by his own admission, he has allegedly cut $160 billion. But if you actually look at the data, it's much, much less, a small fraction of that. First of all, if you take the $160 billion top line that Musk is claiming, they don't account for about $100 billion of that. It's just completely added out of thin air. The pledge was to cut from the annual budget. Many of these contracts span 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. They're just pretending as if all of these cuts would be realized in the first year, when really it's this much smaller number of cuts spread over 3 or 4 years. When the government negotiates these contracts, they have options where they can oftentimes vastly expand the scope of the contract if they want to. Essentially, what Musk is doing is pretending as if the contract value is with all of the options exercised, even if many of those have not been exercised and would never have been exercised. When you take out the amounts that he has not at all accounted for, when you take out the grants and contracts where he's provided no information that can be identified, when you take out the unexercised options and all the other tricks he's employing, we found only about $5 billion in verified cuts that would be realized in fiscal year 2026. The budget that was just submitted by Trump increases defense spending by about $119 billion. Much of that money will go to SpaceX to build a Golden Dome missile defense system. So $5 billion is not very much when you're thinking about the federal budget.
But the Doge agenda isn't over. Now that they've failed to realize the spending cuts he promised, the mission is going to be picked up by Congress, which just proves that despite Elon's bombastic style, the substance of his agenda was nothing new. An insistence on cutting the programs that actually help working people in exchange for tax cuts and literal wealth transfer to the rich. All Elon brought to the table was a new face, louder megaphone, and a boatload of conflicts of interest. The establishment GOP is loving it. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Republican leadership in Congress are already vowing to codify Doge's cuts into law for fiscal year 2026. Elite Republicans aren't running away from Elon's brand of politics. In fact, it's not even his brand, it's theirs. Still, there's reason to be hopeful. There is reason to take action. Folks are actively working to block the most harmful Doge action items. Lawsuits from unions, local governments, and nonprofits are mounting. The public backlash, as represented by the hands-off protests across the country, is growing. And Elon's efforts to buy a Supreme Court election in Wisconsin were sharply rebuked as voters in the state overwhelmingly issued a verdict that they don't particularly care for billionaires seizing the government. It's precisely because of all of this pushback against Musk's unpopularity that the White House wants to separate themselves from him. Make sure the people around you know exactly who is responsible and who's holding the pen. We won't let them run this playbook forever. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Brian.
I like Brian Tyler Cohen, but that's a great video. And Judd Legume is in there, which again, he runs, and you can look at it anytime. I just pulled it up just to give you doge.muskwatch.com. So doge.muskwatch.com. Judd Legume, who's absolutely amazing, one of my favorite independent journalists. You can follow him on Substack. He partnered with a bunch of computer scientists to audit Elon Musk's receipts in real time. Anytime Elon Musk updates the wall of lies or receipts, whatever you want to call it, then the doge.muskwatch.com tracker updates. Right now, the claimed cuts are at 165 billion. And again, this, like, he itemized out. If you're talking about the fiscal year, it's actually 5 billion. But this is over, this is not the fiscal year. Doge itemized cuts, which includes contracts, grants, and real estate, is actually at 69.3 billion. And if you actually talk about the verified canceled funding, it's 16.3 billion, which will be realized over years, not just this fiscal year. So, and you can play with this tool. You can look up your state. You can look up specific contracts. Like, that's why it's so much fun. And it's free for now. It might not be forever. So there's many ways to manipulate it and look up different things. It's my favorite thing ever to look at. I love Brian Tyler Cohen for this video. This is my new favorite partnership. I hope he does more work with nonprofits, like More Perfect Union, because this type of stuff keeps me sane. So again, I sent a gift article that has that information about how the Washington Post exclusive about the U.S. government bullying countries to use Starlink in order to get any sort of tariff deals. I don't know. Maybe that's why there are no tariff deals. Maybe that's why literally we have no tariff deals. We had a fake one announced by the country we have a trade surplus with, the UK, and that the details of which have never actually been delivered. We have the, hey, let's do a 90-day pause on something with China, and then we'll just start it all over again, which, if you have a brain at this point, that's market manipulation, right? Drive the market down, let people who have capital, capitalists, buy a bunch of, it soars up, right? They cash out. and do it again. When he does it again in 90 days, oh, we're going back. We're going to threaten China again, drive the market back down. That will be the 6th time he's grossly manipulated the stock market for financial gain. That, by my count, maybe I'm missing one or two, but by my count, it will be the 5th time or 6th time he's done it. When he does it again, start recognizing the patterns. Why else would he need to do this? Why would he constantly want to destabilize our financial stability? It's market manipulation. He's a grifter. It's so he can make money and help other rich people make money. The problem with making money in the stock market is you need extreme amounts of capital. And who has capital? Not the middle class, because it keeps going to the top of the economy. I know what I need. I was like, there's something. Let me find this. Let me go back to my presentation. I love this kid. I can't remember. I think his name's like Luke 7. I always forget what his name is, but I love when he makes these videos where he's screaming. And I want to show you one because I love this kid. It's posted by someone else. So I think his name is oh yeah, it is. It's Luke 7. That is his literal name on TikTok. I can never remember. It is. If you want to follow this kid, which I love him, it's Luke 7. I was like, I could never remember his name. No, that's literally his name. Oh wait, oopsies. Hold on. It's muted. Keep tapping the screen. We're almost at 400K. Appreciate you guys so much. Oh god, I didn't realize my face was gone. Unmute.
To experience a 48-hour DEFCON 5 level temper tantrum from the tangerine toddler himself. To experience a 48-hour DEFCON 5 level temper tantrum from the tangerine toddler himself. And as I'm starting to get tired of saying, I was fucking right. So let me give you the rundown. He started off by crying about Walmart raising prices due to his tariffs, saying that they needed to eat the costs. Well, what's the problem, Donnie? I thought the other countries paid the tariffs. There shouldn't be any cost to eat. Could it be that you actually don't know diddly fuck about economics and you're worried that your addlebrain supporters are going to do the first semi-smart thing in their life and put 2 and 2 together to realize that everything at Wally World is more expensive because of your persistent inability to read a fucking book? Because that sounds about right to me. He continued his bullshit tirade by attacking the Supreme Court, saying that they're not allowing him to do what he was elected to do. No, you treasonous fucking toddler. They're not allowing you to violate the Constitution. If you don't like that, go sit in the corner and fucking cry about it. What would a weekend in Trumpville be without some AI-generated slop? Because he posted a long-ass video of himself singing Don't Stop Believing by Journey, complete with long, flowing golden locks. Could you be any more crystal clear, you geriatric shit stain? You start the weekend off by ranting about Taylor Swift, and this is how you end it? You're just jealous that what comes out of her mouth is auditory gold, and what comes out of yours is slurred speech, bullshit, and lies. Get fucked, Donald.
I thought we all needed that today. I mean, straight to the point. He's not mincing words. Thank you for that. I mean, I think he nailed it there. It's so funny because I was kind of reviewing like what happened on Friday when I didn't do a live, and I was like, oh, and then that's the beauty of Elon Musk's algorithm, and then that video popped up, and I was like, well, that about covers it. Like I find it absolutely hilarious. Hold on, I'm trying to remember. I feel like I have one more video. Too. Oh yeah, and I've played this video and I've quoted this video, but it's just whenever Trump's absurdity like pops up again and again, I just love Tim Snyder. Fax always talks about Tim Snyder too, and I just think, wait, do I not have this recorded? I think I have the link. If it didn't sorry, when I was trying to record videos earlier, I was having the hardest time making them record. Yeah, I don't think the full video recorded, but I think I have the link. Let me pull it up from my outline. Literally, I tried to record like 30 videos, and for some reason, I need to make sure my phone's okay. Hold on, where is this? Because it's a good one. I mean, Tim Snyder has if you don't know who Dr. Tim Snyder is, I mean, I highly recommend looking into him. But again, this is just someone posting, and I've played this clip of Tim Snyder speaking about, I don't know what you want to call it. What's wrong with Donald Trump, like the psychological diagnosis. But it's just in case for all these moments when we all start feeling crazy and we're like, hey, we're all being robbed and the math makes perfect sense. And why can't MAGA figure out what's going on? I do like to play Tim Snyder videos to myself and for other people. So you could I just feel like he makes a lot of sense.
Understand about Mr. Trump is that he does inhabit a completely different mental world, and he inhabits it naturally and he inhabits it very gracefully. He lives in a world of fiction. Mr. Trump is not a traditional person who has made a career where he's had to deal with life around him. He's never actually been that successful in grappling with any particular element of reality. Where he has been successful is as a character on television. He's never been a successful businessman, but he has played a successful businessman on television. He understands not the rules of reality, but the rules of fiction. So for him, there's no such thing as lying because there's no such thing as the truth. We're all just in this story together. So the ways in which he's able to bring us into the world are, first of all, just by saying all the time things that aren't true. A typical politician will lie now and then, but a typical politician will also recognize the principle that there is truth, and so when caught in a lie, might apologize. In Mr. Trump's case, that never happens because he very specifically and intentionally wants to fill up the whole space with untruth, to fill up everything with untruth so that we're confused. The second stage is once we get there, once he changes the office of the presidency so that it's no longer about talking about the world, but instead about creating a story, then he says, distrust everyone else. There's nothing that's really true, it's just my opinion and your opinion, and since I'm the president and I have media behind me, in the end of the day, it's going to be my opinion that matters. Once we get to that point where everybody doubts everything, and it's only the person who has the most media or the biggest Twitter account who counts, at that point, it's very hard to have anything like a democracy. First thing.
I mean, any of that sound familiar? That's literally why Elmo bought Twitter. Right? He has 200 something million followers. I've never seen someone spread more incoherent batshit lies in my life than Elmo on Twitter. Nothing he's spreading makes any sense. Is it based in reality? It's just incoherent lying. But he has 250 million followers or whatever the number's at. So he must be the most believable, right? I mean, that's exactly what they're saying. Like in a world where nothing is truth, who do you trust? The liar with the most followers? I mean, it's scary to think about it like that, but that is the point of flooding the airways with shit. That's why I created the People's Receipts, because truth is something that is finite, right? Research matters. Primary sources matter. Understanding. I don't care. I hate when people are like, oh, you got your information from Fox, or you got your information from Newsmax, or you got your information from MSNBC. I don't care where in secondary sources information comes from. What matters then is what? You go through what a researcher does the next, which is use primary sources to validate that information. Sometimes Fox says factual information. I mean, Rupert Murdoch owns Fox. He also owns the Wall Street Journal. I've been very impressed. Rupert Murdoch has the Wall Street Journal going after Trump basically daily. I've been very impressed by the investigative journalism coming out of the Wall Street Journal every single day. So that's what we have to, in a place where Trump's goal is to distort reality. What we have to do is remember the basic tools of how do we find out the truth. Math doesn't lie. That's why Trump wants to erase race. Like, why would that be? Because math, and I always say this when I'm debating, like, I'm not accusing you, Billy from, who voted for Donald Trump and loves him more than his own mother. I'm not accusing you of being racist. What I'm telling you is through math, through statistical analysis, I know that the legislation that has been passed by conservatives is disproportionately harming people of color. I'll never know, Billy MAGA Trump follower, what's in your heart and if you're a racist or not, right? I know through what we call impact studies and or statistical analysis that women are disproportionately discriminated by conservative legislation, that the LGBTQIA is disproportionately being discriminated against through conservative legislation, that BIPOC people are being disproportionately discriminated and disenfranchised through conservative legislation. It has nothing to do with what kind of hate you have in your heart, Billy. It has to do with statistical analysis. So if you erase that box where people are saying, I'm black, I'm gay, I'm trans, I'm all these things, and we have less data and information, it's a lot harder than to use mathematical statistical analysis to understand who is disproportionately being discriminated against. Oh God, MAGA leftist. MAGA leftist is here. Hold on. I have to do a short commercial. MAGA leftist is here to not actually request. He would just like everyone to know he's here. He will say things that make no logical sense, nor do they support, statistical analysis that we know to be true fact. MAGA leftist is here just to say asinine things, but still to this day has never had the guts to talk to me. One of these days, are we getting closer, MAGA leftists, to the day where you will actually speak to me in person, or are you just going to lurk around in this comment section too? This is not my debates. We don't lurk here and say asinine things. If you annoy people and distract people from learning here, you get blocked. Oh, he's beyond terrified. I've been trying to get him to talk to. I don't know. I've been nice. I've been sweet. I've said all the nice things, tried to get him to talk to me. He just shows up wherever I am, says weird things that make no sense, but never, ever requests. One of these days, MAGA leftists. Who knows? It could be this week. Another screen beret? I've never heard that. That's funny. A screen beret? I've never heard that. That made me laugh. I'm going to have to use that. That is just such brave fingers. Jen, thank you for the $20 hot water and Mr. Mint. Jesus. God, I've had a week. Oh my God, Jen, your cat is a doll. Literally. Oh my God. Love your cat. What a cute cat. And Dustin, thank you for the $10. You inspire me consistently. Thank you for ushering us through the darkness. You guys are basically dragging my dead body weight through the darkness. If it was you, reason I get out of bed. So just understand, like, whilst you feel like I'm ushering you, you guys are also keeping me alive. So this is a very symbiotic relationship. So just know that if it wasn't for you guys, if I was just stuck alone, if I wish that I could take you guys on my family, like I had to spend the last like 4 days with family, not yesterday, but the 4 days prior. I might start recording or just being secretly live during my family interactions so you guys can understand why I'm like, you guys are my family. So thank you. As much as I'm helping you, you guys keep me, teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work, for sure. Okay, I'm going to cut it at 3 hours and 30 minutes because I do have some more stuff to do, and I have a sick cat to stick an eyedropper down his throat, and even though he's fighting it, I think it is working. He has a little infection. I have a little 5-pound cat. That's why when I said in the Discord this morning, my cat lost a pound, and you're like, who cares, please? Maybe he needs to lose weight. No, my cat weighs 5 pounds. He lost 20% of his body weight. He's already really skinny. So that's why I had to get him a vet appointment. This has only happened one time before. And when my cat gets sick and loses weight like this, I know it's really scary. No, it's good. He's still he's staying hydrated and he's not completely refusing food. And I'm using an eyedropper to make sure he hydrates extra. And so he's okay. But that and my hot water heater broke. That's what Jen was talking about for hot water and Mr. Mittens. In the last 24 hours, like the vet, when I had an emergency vet appointment, she's like, until the medication comes in the mail, like lock him in whose cat wants to be locked in a bathroom? Like, that's my cat's first of all nightmare. I'm like, but she's like, if it's between that and him not breathing, like she basically said, steam up the bathroom and lock him in there and it'll help him breathe easier until the antibiotics come. And which is a nightmare for my cat. But I was like, okay. And then I realized I don't have hot water because my water heater just decided to fail yesterday. So that's why she's like, for hot water, I have a sick cat. Everything is okay though. I have hot water now. So now I can torment my cat tonight and lock him in Steve, I didn't know why my cat used to stick his paws under the door. Anytime I'm in the bathroom, all I see are just two black paws, like, and him screaming. And then I started reading, like, I love psychology papers. I was reading like cat psychology, and apparently the bathroom is the most dangerous place to cats. So when they love you, they're scared that while you're in there, you might not make it out alive. So like frantically, like if I would let my cat sit in my lap whenever I was in the bathroom, that's what he would want to do. I will sit in. I'm not going to leave him in the bathroom alone. He would, no, that would be torture. My cat's like, you're trapped in the bathroom. I have to get you out. I can hear him meowing right now. He hears me talking about him. He's like, is it time for my attention? So yeah, I'll sit in there with him, but he's doing okay. He just needs some antibiotics, which should either be coming by tomorrow or, I had as soon as possible, and then I'll just shove him down his throat and hopefully he'll be okay. My cat masks in the bathroom. Oh, wait, some cats love the bathroom. I watch a lot of cat TikTok videos. Some cats are like loving the bathroom. My cat is like, get me out of here, and you get out of here too. You're going to fall into the toilet and die. My cat's like, we're not safe until you're out of here. He's doing fine. That explains why my cat always tries to break into the bathroom. That's why there are psychological cat papers written about it. They're afraid if your cat is one of those cats who's like frantic while you're in the bathroom, they're worried you will not survive the experience. My cat is one of those cats. He's so adorable. Anyways, we could all talk about our cat forever. My cat I've had for over 20 years now. So he's an older guy, and I won't have him for much longer, but he has had a great life, and he's my longest relationship with a male. So for all the people that say I can't keep a relationship going, talk to Mr. Mittens about that. He will tell you something different. Lisa, thank you for the $10 on Venmo. Thank you for all you do. Guys, I just want to say, I think we probably, due to my mental health and I think the situation we're all in, Matt is back in DC tomorrow, so not doing a live with Matt. I think, and I'll contact Dr. Danny tonight, and we'll probably do something similar to what we did last Tuesday, where we did kind of like a mental health thing, if Dr. Danny's available. If not, maybe I'll debate, but I'll let you, Dr. Danny, if you don't know, if you want to follow her name's @InBedWithDanielle. She's amazing. She basically gave us a therapy session last week where we all cried. It's awesome. So I'm planning, if she's available tomorrow, to do similar to what we did last Tuesday. We'll do another, like, let's all talk about our mental health and how to survive a fascist takeover and ask a therapist questions. Because I think that really did. Yeah, I know. We all needed it. It went well. It helped me a lot. I know we basically had 500-person group therapy. Like, I'll try not to cry so much this time. But and I'll let you guys know. I'll confirm it tonight. I'll text her. I know she's working right now, but I'll get back to you guys. And if not, maybe I'll debate, but I'll figure something out for tomorrow. But that's the plan. As long as Dr. Danny's available at the usual time, we'll have group therapy, how to survive a fascist takeover group therapy session yet again, which let me just make sure I get this right before I just throw out times. So she's on Central Time because she's in the panhandle of Florida. So we usually do it at 12. It's 10, right? So it'd be 10 a.m. Pacific. We do it a little bit earlier because she does it on her lunch hour when she doesn't have clients or patients. So I believe it would be 10 Pacific, 1 Eastern, 12 Central. So I'll confirm that tonight in the Discord, but let's plan on that. It's In Bed with Danielle. She's like a board certified clinical sexologist, all sorts of things. She's paid she's one of those, she basically tours the world and is paid to speak on like women's reproductive health, all sorts of things. She's effing brilliant. I think my brain works really well. And then I met Dr. Danny. So if you have never met her or seen her speak, I do be there tomorrow. Hopefully, and if for some reason she isn't, then I'll plan like debates or something. I'll figure out something else for us to do, like we're toddlers. But let's plan on doing that because I think she's planning on it. So I'll get back to you guys. Thank you. I'm so glad I did this. I missed you guys more than I can express. And then we'll do regular people's receipts on Wednesday and go from there. Love you all. Don't change for anyone, not even a court order. And again, tomorrow, if you want to meet Dr. Daddy and attend group therapy, it's a little earlier, 10 a.m. Pacific.